Compass Promotions. I just wanted to say I had an incredible time this weekend. Thank you to everybody who took part in the poll. By the time the poll had closed, it was a members and patron exclusive poll. By the time it closed, the votes were in, and I went to Illinois, Chicago, Glenview specifically, to celebrate Masonic Membership Visibility Day, which was a blast. I loved it. I posted a lot about it on my social media. I'm going to talk about what my trip was like, how I enjoyed it, all the things that I did very shortly. But as you know, for the first 60 minutes, we just hang out. We wait to see who joins. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral, once again, please let me know. And thank you all for being here. The biggest thing I wanted to mention is what I have coming up, which is going to be on August 21st, so Friday going through to Saturday, August 22nd, another 24-hour live stream. However, this is going to be a special stream. We are going to be celebrating the Masonic Medical Research Institute. 50% of all of the revenues from that stream are going to be going to the Masonic Medical Research Institute. That is going to be a blast. That's going to be super chats. That's going to be everything that comes with it. So I'm looking forward to that very much. Ad revenues. We're going to have people on to talk about the Masonic Medical Research Institute. It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait for it. It's going to start August 21st at 2 p.m. and it's going to go till August 22nd at 2 p.m. Eastern. And within that, like I said, we're going to be talking to people about the Masonic Medical Research Institute. It's going to be a blast. I can't wait. We're going to be doing a lot of really fun stuff. That might mean shorter streams today, where the focus, shorter streams this week, I should say, just to try and get myself ready and prepared for what is going to be a longer Friday stream, that's for sure. But I think my lighting is good, sound is good. Hello, Dad. How's it going? Thank you for being here as always. I hope that you are doing well. Hello, Dad. Hello, Joshua. How's it going? Thanks for being here. Everybody new to the stream, please hit like, please hit subscribe. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry. As you know, the first 60 minutes, we just hang out, chat about whatever. The second 60 minutes, I have specific comments, specific talking points. In this case, I want to talk about my trip this weekend, how much I enjoyed it, how much I loved it, some of the cool things I did. Also, it was a couple of very special days. It was National Acadian Day. It was the Indian Day of Independence, and what that means for Freemasonry as well, and how much I enjoy that. So, or how much I appreciate my Indian brethren as well. Freemasonry in India has a really cool history. So, Joshua, it's nice to meet you too. Joshua, please hit like, please hit subscribe. This channel, the focus of it is on Freemasonry. So let me know if you have any thoughts on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral. I'd love to hear them. I'm just going to keep hanging out for the time being, wait to see who joins. As everybody knows, the first 60 minutes, I just talk about, whatever. No specific talking points or no specific topics. So let me know how you're doing. We'll give it some time. I really enjoyed, as always, being in beautiful Chicago, Glenview, celebrating Masonic Medical Research Institute. Sorry, celebrating the Masonic Membership Visibility Day. That was really fun. This weekend, it's going to be celebrating the Masonic Medical Research Institute. I'm also going to post regularly on stream quizzes about the Medical Research Institute in preparation for the 21st at 2 p.m. Eastern. Hello, Kim Sherman. Welcome. Thank you for being here. If you're new, please hit like, please hit subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. If you've been here before, let me know any thoughts on Freemasonry or anything you want to talk about. I would be much, much obliged. Also, thank you to everybody who joined me on my personal channel, youtube.com/Cameron Adamson. We had a lot of fun yesterday doing a live stream with my friend Smokey the Clown. That was really fun. I really enjoyed that quite a bit. So he's probably going to be joining us, I think, at least sometime during the 21st. You may have been, Kim Sherman. The name sounds familiar. Check if you're subscribed. If you're not subscribed, please hit subscribe. If you are, thank you. Um, Dan, it's Monday. It's too early in the week for conspiracies and bullshit. Some people in the government are good, some people in the government are bad. It's human nature. Some of your plumbers are good, some of your plumbers are bad. It's not unique to government. If you want to focus on trying to help victims of abuse, find a local shelter in your area, donate to them, volunteer to them, for them. Join groups that are civically minded and civically engaged, thereby reducing the vulnerabilities that abusers prey upon. Go to your police. Very often they run courses on how to spot signs of abuse. Actually help your community. Um, my suspicion is you're so focused on online nonsense, you're not civically engaged with what actually matters in your day-to-day life or in our day-to-day life. And the victims that you may very well know that you could be helping through things like support for your local shelters. Um, I mean, Dan, where you live, there's probably a shelter for victims of abuse. If you want to help reduce abuse in your community, or at least protect victims of abuse, volunteer at the shelter or donate to them. If there's not, find the closest one and volunteer or donate for them. You're going to do far more than than you would otherwise. As you can tell, I'm not a fan of conspiracies because, amongst other things, it doesn't actually help us solve any problems. It tends to just make things significantly worse for everybody. Well, that's nice, Kim. I mean, that's a good way to do it. Which charity, if you don't mind my asking? Because, yeah, I can see that as being kind of a cool thing, a cool way to do it. I mean, not only were you making a healthy choice and a smart choice, but you were helping a local charity. So good on you in both cases. Um, I think very often there are significant ways that we can help the community and help those around us. I think, unfortunately, we don't always do it. Hey, still nice. Whatever charity they said, that's still a nice thing to do. So good on you, good for you. Um, Nothing's wrong with that. We're just going to keep hanging out. We're just going to wait to see who joins. Please take a moment, hit like, hit subscribe. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral, let me know. We are getting ready for August 21st, our 24-hour stream, which is going to be a blast, starting 2 p.m. Eastern. But for the time being, we're just hanging out, waiting to see who joins. I'm going to be posting a lot about it in the coming weeks, believe me, so it should be fun. What'd you have at Olive Garden, Kim Sherman, as you wait to see more people joining? Totally. I would not do that for $1 million. So I guess you're on your own, totally. Um, because it would not be worth potentially ruining my life for, or potentially ruining other people's lives if they were to see me doing that and think it's a good idea, or to besmirch Freemasonry. Like, Freemasonry already has enough challenges as it is. It doesn't need me smoking anything on there to make it worse. That sounds pretty good, Kim. John Anthony, hello to you. How's it going? Thank you for being here. As always, please take a moment, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry, let me know. Define great, not great. I think my life is pretty great. I'm grateful to have it. But even if my life wasn't great, is it worth ruining other people's lives? Hungry Ghost, how do you join? Are you asking how do you join Freemasonry or how do you join my channel? I assume you're talking about Freemasonry specifically, but nonetheless, I will give you a second. If you want to join Freemasonry, the first step to be one, ask one, find a Masonic lodge in your area, approach them, and express your interest in joining. Now, that's not the end of the process, but that's the start of the process. And for that, you don't need an invitation. You don't need to wait for someone to invite you. You just show up, knock on the door, express your interest in joining, or write them a letter, send them an email, give them a call. From there, there's a process. You get to know them, they get to know you. You need to be of the correct age, at least 21 in Ontario. You need to believe in a supreme being of some sort, though it's very broadly defined. And you kind of go from there. I think a lot of people make the mistake of waiting for an invitation before they feel like they can join. Hello, Dylan. How's it going? Hungry Ghost. My supreme being is the rational nature of the universe as expressed through science and geometry. John Anthony is right. Express your interest. I will say, though, you know, this idea of, they will find you. Not precisely, right? I want to be very broad about that because that can sound a little bit creepy. What would happen is you express your interest in joining, you go to the lodge, they get to know you. Normally, especially in 2026, it takes a little while to get sponsors. The first bit, it's they'll take you out to coffee. You can go to special events with them, dinners. You get to know them, they get to know you. You kind of go from there, right? So over time, as they get to know you, as you get to know them, and if you decide after that first contact you still like to join, at that point they'll talk to you about getting a couple of sponsors who will kind of sign off on an application for you and help the process go forward. Well, Kim, we're not going to play any songs with cussing. I try to avoid playing songs as a general rule because I don't want to get copyright. Who is me, Connor? I do not know who this we is of which you refer. I would say so. I mean, most people who approach the lodge and express their interest in joining are accepted. That's not to say most people in the broader community. I mean, there are times where, for whatever reason, they may not be. Very often, it comes down to um, they are looking at joining potentially because they have a misunderstanding of what Freemasonry is. For example, they want to join to get rich or famous or powerful, something to that effect. Kim, that is cool. I mean, I think most Freemasons do. There's some who say that the belief in immortality of the soul or a life after death is a qualification. I think supreme being is a qualification. Life after death, I think that's a little bit more for question. I will say, though, I do believe there is a value to humanity and to being human that does exist even after, even after we're gone, in my opinion. It does happen. It's rare, but it does happen. Some debate we were too welcoming of people. Um, Throughout time, there's this idea of guarding the West Gate is something you hear very commonly. It's not something I'm a huge fan. I mean, I go back and forth on it, but I generally think, as a good rule of thumb, it's better to spend more time getting to know our brothers and talking to them or potential brothers or applicants. I think rushing to bring somebody in is usually not the best approach to take. No, Supreme Being is not a religion. Supreme Being could mean different religions. If you believe in a Supreme Being, you may be Christian, you may be Muslim, you may be Jewish, you may be Hindu, you may be Sikh. But that's a kind of a different issue, right? There's no specific, Freemasonry is not a specific religion. Are Knights Templar? Well, Knights of the Templar don't exist anymore. Like Knights of the Templar, there is a Masonic order under York, right? Knights Templar. That's a Masonic order. Like Knights of the Templar, they haven't existed since what, 1108, if I recall correctly, 1113. No, sorry, 1308. Forgive me. They haven't existed since 1308, when the famous Friday the 13th decree was put out by the Pope and the King of France. We're not stealing declarations. Michael, please like and subscribe. I would. It's not hard to attend to the appendant bodies, in my experience. And Memphis Mizraim is not an appendant body recognized in Canada or in most of the United States. It's primarily recognized in Europe and in England, or at least Europe, Russia, to my knowledge. I'm a descendant. I mean, that's fine. It's impressive you can, you know your descendancy that far back, but that's fine. I don't know. It would not make a difference, right? We're not judging you based on your descendants. We're judging you based on who you are, and what you believe, not what your past. Jazz, welcome. Jazzy Production, please hit like and subscribe. It depends, Kim. They're different. There is no single religion that every Freemason is, right? Some are Christian, some are Muslim, some are Jewish, some are Hindu, some are Sikh, some are First Nations, Indigenous. Well, I wasn't there. I think 1308 is the right date. I could be getting it wrong. But the basic story, right, is that is the year on a Friday the 13th, more specifically, when the King of France, together with the Pope, put out a royal decree disbanding the Knights Templar. Famously, many of them were put to death, were burned at the stake, including Jacques de Molay. But he was burned at the stake, I think, about 5 years later, in 1313, something like that, not immediately after the decree was made. He had first put in an effort to try and kind of solve the situation, didn't do a good job of it, but yes, Blood Bot, that's quite the name. Yes, it is. This channel was created to promote the ways Freemasonry was and is relevant to the communities in which it was located, as well as to share stories of Masonic interest and turn my passion for Freemasonry into profession. What do I think? I do not know what the Convent of Christ in Portugal is. I mean, the Knights Templars may have continued in various forms. They are a Masonic appendant body, but that doesn't mean they're a direct. That doesn't mean that they are a direct continuation. Ugh, conspiracy theories. I'll tell you the difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth. The truth helps people solve problems that are facing the world and themselves. Conspiracy theories distract people from solving problems for the world and themselves. We do not worship Halal. We do not worship Satan. I'm not going to renounce them, Bloodbot. You're welcome on my channel, but you believe some nonsense and some baloney, which is fine. If you had to know the truth to be on to be on YouTube, no one be on YouTube but me. And other people who, aren't conspiracy-minded nonsense. Nonetheless, Bloodbot, why do you think Freemasons worship Satan? From whence are you getting that information? I don't think my eyes are yellow. Actually, I've had a lot of doctor's appointments. I seem to be doing pretty healthy. It could just be the lighting as well, keep in mind. Bloodbot, I mean, I appreciate that, but you're wrong about Freemasonry. From whence are you getting your ideas of Freemasonry? I have my suspicions where you're getting your ideas from, but Nonetheless, from whence come they? In fairness, I definitely don't drink enough water, but I'm trying to be better at it. So, there you go. I'm drinking fluids. Um, John Anthony, I agree with that one. I've said this before. Freemasonry does a lot of good for communities, even aside from the philanthropy, which is a major deal. Freemasonry does a lot of good for communities simply by existing. I've said it a million times. Freemasonry, one of the major things it does is reduces the vulnerabilities that criminals prey upon when finding and controlling victims. What religion, culture? Well, so what most influenced Freemasonry and the creation of Freemasonry is stone masonry and stone Masonic tools, or sorry, stone Masonic guilds. Forgive me. Right, by far and away, what Freemasonry is at its most basic level is a continuation of stone masonry in a social setting, by far and away. So that's the most important thing to keep in mind. In terms of religion, borrowed from a great many. I would say Christianity, because most of the originators of of Freemasonry were Christian. Like Anderson was a Presbyterian minister. But it's certainly borrowed from Judaism, it borrowed from the Muslim faith, from Egyptian mysticism, if you want to call that if you want to call that a religion. Um, who here lives in the north of the USA? I live south of the USA. A lot of people don't realize it, but Windsor is actually south of Detroit, which is a really cool little piece of information and knowledge. We are actually south of the United States. In south of Detroit. Okay, Kim. I mean, the majority, not that the majority of Freemasons are probably Christian, I would say, based on my experience, but they come from very different faiths, backgrounds, and beliefs, right? The thing is, again, Freemasonry is not a religion. That's one of the coolest things about it. Do I like it down there? So far down here. I like Windsor. Windsor, I've said it before. It's my home, so it's the city I love. Plus, I love Canada, greatest country in the world, in part because we have the greatest neighbors in the world. Um, and so that is something I love about being Canadian. I was just celebrating with my neighbors a couple of days ago. I was in beautiful Chicago, Glenview, two places I love, talking about or celebrating Masonic Membership Visibility Day. I've never been to Japan, but I would love to visit it. Japan has a really cool really cool Masonic lodges, especially in Tokyo. So it's a place I want to visit very much. What's going on, Smokey? Thank you for being here. Thank you again yesterday for helping me out. I think we got everything sorted. It was a pain in the butt, but I believe we got everything sorted out. So thank you for sticking with me. I truly appreciated it. Help me make sure that my event on my 24-hour stream on the 21st of August goes successfully. So I can't wait for that. So Stinkly, what I would say to them is they just have a misunderstanding of Freemasonry. First, we have many Christian Freemasons, Catholic, Protestant, whatever it might be, none of whom seem to have any issue or difficulty combining their love of Freemasonry with their faith. I would say ultimately the biggest issue we have, or the biggest mistake, is the belief that Freemasonry infringes upon one's religion or religious space, which is simply not the case, right? Freemasonry occupies a civic space. Christianity occupies a religious space. They're different spaces with different purposes and different goals. You look like this sticker. Well, there you go. Please like and subscribe. Absolutely, Robert. Freemasonry does a lot of philanthropy and a lot of philanthropic work. Freemasonry also just does a lot of good work, period, regardless of, regardless of the philanthropic efforts. Simply by existing, it helps make the world a better place. Well, Stinkley, if you want to find out about the specific rituals, you got to join. What I will say is any ceremonies and rituals, first of all, none of them are illegal, immoral, against one's civic, religious, familial responsibilities. They're all safe, and they are all metaphorical or symbolic in nature. Plus, they all do the important work of creating bonds of brotherhood through shared experiences. Welcome from Kurdistan and Iraq. Mafia, please hit like and subscribe. Well, then I'm glad you found this channel to talk about it. That's what I do here. Mondays through Fridays, 1 p.m. and 1 p.m. Starting 1 p.m. Mondays, going to 1 a.m. 1 p.m. Monday. Then I do them every 1 p.m. Eastern and 1 a.m. Eastern for usually a couple hours at a time. Until Friday, then weekends, it's mostly posting on social media, things like that. By the way, I always forget to mention I am monetized on social media. So please, if you get the chance, follow me there as well. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff helps me big time, believe me. It's 12:32, so you're an hour behind. I'm 1:32 here. I mean, do you mean like Chaldean? I do say we all equal. I believe we're all equal as well. That's the thing I love about Freemasonry is it recognizes that we are all equal, that it doesn't matter what your religion is, what your race is, right? What matters is that you care about the people around you and that you support them. We're just keep hanging out, wait to see who joins. The stigma associated with Freemasonry is because of Hollywood and the rumor mill. I read an article on the religions. The stigma associated. There's a lot of reasons for this stigma. It's unfortunate. I wish it wasn't the case. However, all we can do as Freemasons is do our best to support the people around us, to be honest, to care about the people around us, and to show the truth about Freemasonry and what Freemasonry is, right? That's the most important thing. So long as we can do that, that's what matters. Disciple of the Lord, welcome. Thank you for being here. How's it going? I hope you're doing well. Please take a moment, by the way, to hit that like button and that subscribe button. Let me know how you're doing, any thoughts you have on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral. Bro looks like Sandman. I'll take it. That sounds positive to me. Welcome, Mayo. Hope you're getting ready for the 21st of August, my 24-hour stream. We're going to be celebrating, as you know, amongst other things, um, the Masonic Medical Research Institute. And 50% um, of all the revenues from that event, including through other sources, is going to be going to the Masonic Medical Research Institute. Well, Mayo, that sucks. I've known a lot of Knights of Columbus. They're cool dudes. There are some people who are, um, there are some, for the record, Knights of Columbus are also Masons. I've known plenty. They have no issues with it. Sounds like you're just being a jerk. All right, Gan, Gagan. I'm gonna call you Gag. What's the difference between a low-ranking Mason and a high-ranking Mason? Um, well, I mean, maybe technically that's true in the sense that the official rules from the Vatican preclude a Catholic from being a Freemason and receiving communion. But keep in mind, somebody would say whatever they want, right? You have to be really careful. People will do very often, like I know many Catholics who are Freemasons. This idea that people are going to always be following to the letter of the law what the religious leadership says is just not the case. We know that's not the case, right? So all I can say is um, we as Freemasons welcome people of all different faiths, including Catholics. So it would not be any issue. You showed up to space. I'm staring at my computer because as I'm doing this, I'm checking the news. I want to see if something's happening or going on because if something does pop up, I'd like to be able to talk about it. So I check CNN, X, whatever it might be regularly. Um, Welcome, Mort. Once again, Mort, don't forget August 21st, 2 p.m., 24 hours stream. Has anyone, I've heard of the Hells Angels group, sure. Um, so Freemasonry doesn't really have an ideology other than at the most basic level, disciple, that it's worth spending time with other people, which, by the way, I think is a pretty great ideology to have. What you get from becoming a member, asks Bozo. It depends, Bozo, on like who you are and what you're looking for. Some people join because they want to be part of the same group they had family members who were a part of. It makes them feel closer to their family, so that's something that's unique. Some people join because they're looking for friends. Freemasonry can be a good way to make friends relatively quickly. Some people are looking to develop skills that they would not otherwise develop. You become better at memorization, meeting management, in some cases, conflict resolution. I've always said if anybody ever wants to get a job that involves organizing meetings, celebrations, special events, planning, Freemasonry, especially once you become a worshipful master, is like a crash course in that. And it's really, really cool. Some people like the idea of being part of a traditional organization, they like history. But I mean, very often that question, I think, kind of misses the point. I mean, what do you get from listening to your favorite song? What do you get from watching your favorite movie? What do you get from going out with your friends on a Friday night? You enjoy it. And if you enjoy it, you enjoy it. What more do you kind of need, right? Um, well, Mayo, I mean, it sucks that that happens. He just sounds like an asshole. But you shouldn't take that to be a knock against Knights of Columbus. I've known many Knights of Columbus, basically good dudes, at least the ones I've met. So, um, one day UK will become Jack. I feel like you are just making that up and trolling to be a jerk. Um, Well, I mean, I can't speak to why. I mean, so do Knights of Columbus. By definition, I'd say Knights of Columbus can be, you could argue it's discriminatory in that it just accepts Catholics. What he meant is Freemasons are human beings, and unfortunately, there's a lot of good in humans, a lot of bad in humans. I mean, for example, Prince Hall Freemasonry was started due to an act of discrimination against a black man who tried to join in 17, I think it was 1778. I always get the date mixed up. Um, oh, for heaven's sakes. All right, we're going to put Jack in a timeout. I don't get why people are the way they are sometimes. Tip, I mean, some Masons are Zionists, some Masons are not Zionists. You'd have to ask each individual Freemason. Zionism is a political ideology, and Freemasonry, we do not discuss religion or politics in lodge. What about Albert Pike? Tip, who was he and why do you bring him up in the chat? Um, Jason, I do not know what you're talking about. Sorry, where are you, Bozo? I mean, Freemasonry used to be popular everywhere. I'm not aware of any locations where it was banned. Um, I mean, I shouldn't say that. It's, in the Middle East, I know places where it's been banned. So are you from the Middle East? I'm looking forward to Welcome to Derry. I think it's going to be awesome. I'd want to watch it very much. I think it'd be really, really cool. I like Stephen King a lot, right? So we're just going to keep hanging out. Again, the first hour, I just wait to see what people want to talk about. It's the second hour, I have specific talking points. Like in this case, I want to talk about my trip this weekend to Chicago for Masonic Membership Visibility Day. Sure, Squid, you can be broke. I mean, Freemasonry, I think in some ways makes it less likely that you'll be broke because you have potentially benevolence and brothers you can rely upon. I've known three brothers who would have been homeless were it not for Freemasonry stepping in and providing them with assistance, providing them with money to pay for their mortgage, to pay for their rent. Um, all the evidence shows that if you are not isolated, or if you are less isolated and have a support system, you are less likely to be broke. So that is something to keep in mind. That's not a guarantee. Not every lodge has the ability to help its membership financially, whatever it might be. However, having people around you helps you get through rough times financially, as well as rough times emotionally, rough times physically, mentally, whatever it might be. All the evidence shows isolation is important for all of the above. Um, what's my idea of a perfect world? Gosh, what a question that is. A world in which people always choose the most rational, logical outcome, or people always take the most logical, rational outcome that guarantees the good of the whole over the individual's desires. Um, I'll take another shirt, Alamo. Yes, user, it depends. That's called a benevolent fund. Not every jurisdiction, not every lodge has that, right? You want to be careful, user, because unfortunately there are some lodges who are struggling financially. There are some jurisdictions that are struggling and don't necessarily have the funds to put aside. But if they can, yes, they will form what's called a benevolence fund. In some cases, the benevolence fund is actually created or maintained through dues. So, for example, you pay $300 to your lodge for your dues. $20 of that may go to a special fund just for benevolence. Um, you look like Beetlejuice. Well, thank you, Zuzu. Please hit like and subscribe. Curtis. All right. So, what do you think is the correct information then? Um, but many lodges do. User is absolutely correct. Oh, so that's even more rare. That happens, but it's rare to see it for worshipful masters. I find very often they will cover the dues for secretaries and past masters. It just depends on the circumstances. I really want to open a new lodge. Are you a Mason, Bozo? Because opening a new lodge is challenging. I mean, it's not, I mean, it can be, it just depends on what's happening. It can be challenging, though. It depends on the jurisdictions and the rules regarding it. What you first need to do is figure out what jurisdiction and what district you're part of. And in Ontario, anyways, make sure to get the support of at least 50% or more of all of the lodges in the area. It depends. I don't always shave. It depends if there's something fancy going on. If it's, I don't want to use the word just, but if it's just a regular meeting, then probably not. But if it's a degree or a banquet, then I probably will. I mean, that's true, Mort. One of the biggest issues I think we have in life very often is comparing what we have today to what we hope will be, to what we think it could be. And unfortunately, what we want something to be, what we think something could be, will always fall short of what it actually is. Or, sorry, what something is will always fall short of what we imagine something could be. And that can create a lot of resentment, bitterness, anger. And I think that's a real shame. Aleph, well, before you do that, hit like and subscribe, and then start your own lodge. Um, yes, user, we have a dress code in Ontario. It's suit and tie as well. I am going to be shaving in preparation for my my August 21st 24-hour stream. That is going to be a blast. I can't wait for that. Starting August 21st, 2 p.m. Eastern, celebrating, amongst other things, the Masonic Medical Research Institute. Freemasonry is not an ideology. Some Freemasons may be Zionists, many are not. It just depends on what they personally believe. Why do you think Freemasons are Zionists? From whence is that nonsense coming? It's an open society called the Free. Well, I mean, Alan, Alav. I'm gonna call you long time. I wish you best of luck, and I wish you best of effort in your new society called the Freemasons. I've seen it. Why does the 33rd matter? What is so relevant and important about the 33rd? I don't get this weird obsession with it. If you're being legit, which is always to take with a grain of salt on YouTube and YouTube comments, what is this weird obsession with the 33rd degree? And why do you think that that's relevant to, let's say, to your Blue Lodge, your Craft Lodge, your York Rite, your Shrine, your Eastern Star, your Demolay, your Rainbow? 33rds have no financial power, political power, or any type of influence over craft lodges. So even if it was the case that the 33rd was Zionist, which it's not, it's one degree in Freemasonry out of dozens, and it's not the foundation upon which Freemasonry rests. So why this weird obsession with it? I don't get it. I don't know anything about the Unitarian Church. Oh, Mortimer, isn't that from Dead Space? Like the video game, Unitology? If that's what I'm thinking of and I'm correct, then I love the Dead Space games a lot. Supposedly, most people compare Unitology to Scientology, but I think it was ultimately just a fictional religion created in a video game, for the purposes of the story. And as someone who really loves that video game, I guess I find it kind of cool. Albert Pike was a Freemason. Tip, who cares? Right, why is Albert Pike the most relevant Freemason, or even a relevant Freemason, to, let's say, your Craft Lodge experience or your York Rite experience? Um, well, anybody can hold the 33rd degree rank for decades once you get it. I've been a master mason for decades. It's just once you get it, unless you choose to leave, you always have that rank. And in theory, you could be argued to always have that rank no matter what. Some will say once a mason, always a mason, though I'm not sure how much I buy that. I'll look it up. I'm interested. More. I don't know anything about it though. Okay, well, BAW is full of baloney. You can watch Eyes Wide Shut if you want because you think it's a good movie. It has nothing to do with Freemasonry. Um, Bro looks like a cartoon. Please like and subscribe. All right. Well, we're going to put you in a timeout. Do you believe alcohol is a blessing to humankind? I don't believe it's a blessing, nor do I think it's a curse. I think, like anything else, it's how it's used and for what purpose it's used. I think, unfortunately, it's very easy for people to develop problems with it. But I think so long as it's consumed responsibly and with care, it can be a good thing for society. People can derive enjoyment from it. Aside from they can feel more comfortable in social situations, there may be some, pain relieving effects of it as well. But like everything in life, it's how it's being used and how people are choosing to use it. So, because it is Islamic, Professor Terps. It's the fez hat with the red, which comes from Morocco, and the red berries around the city of Fez. Bread, because I'm very handsome. Please like and subscribe. Um, we're going to just keep waiting to see who wants to join. As always, please take a moment, hit like, hit subscribe. Well, many people would agree with you on that one. What I will say is I don't think alcohol should be banned. I have, Freemasonry has no opinion on it. There are some Freemasons who probably think it should be banned and some who don't. What I would just say is I think what matters is are you consuming it responsibly and carefully? And if you are a Mason and you want to have alcohol at your Masonic Lodge meetings, do you have the proper permits, the proper insurance, and are you being careful? That's the stuff that matters. Mortima or Mortem Mania is right. Even water. That's why, as a general rule of thumb, moderation is always the most appropriate step, I think, that you can take. Both President Roosevelts were Freemasons. 15 or 16 of the 45 to 46 presidents have been Freemasons. No, you shouldn't. I mean, you shouldn't do crack, period. I don't care who you are. Just don't do it. Seems like a very important thing to not be doing it. Well, I mean, I think alcohol, for better or worse, and you can debate this, it seems to me, from what little I know about it, alcohol has been part of human society for much longer than weed. Like, you go back to the Greeks, the Romans, the Sumerians, the Egyptians, alcohol, like I just watched something on TikTok, which was talking, or not TikTok, on YouTube Shorts, talking about um, uh, beer being one of the things that people would have for breakfast when they were building the pyramids. I think weed is much newer, relatively speaking, or at least much newer in the Western world. Yes, and make sure the bartender, if you're in Ontario, has Safe Serve and Smart Serve, which are incredibly important. Um, well, that's true, user. I think alcohol was used a lot less, but definitely it's still part of, I mean, it was a common thing in wine, banquets, celebrations, whatever it might be. You see it very often and very frequently being discussed. The idea of putting water in your wine, like Dionysus, right, or Bacchus, the goddesses of wine, and alcohol and parties, it just seems like it's much more common. Me personally, I've never drank or done any substances or any drugs, but people can decide for themselves, I suppose, what they want to do. I just think it's important that we as Freemasons make sure that we are always ensuring that we protect ourselves by having the proper insurance, etc., etc. We need those things. Training, smart serve, whatever it might be. Um, oh, I'm sure alcohol percentages have increased a lot, right? As technology has increased and as technology has improved, one thing you're going to see very often is, yeah, you're going to see alcohol content get stronger, drugs get stronger as well. That is something I've seen very frequently. Uh, Septimus, it depends on the lodge and the place that you're located. So if you're located in a community that allows one to own semi-automatic weapons and the lodge allows them in the building, then the lodge allows them and the location allows them. Depends on the lodge. In my experience, most places though, the general rule is don't bring weapons into a lodge room. That's something I would support, by the way. No idea what you're talking about, Jason Bender. It depends what I'm studying. I have to have an interest in the topic, but yeah, I like learning new things. That is something I really enjoy. Well, Freemasons at its core, Professor, are linked to stonemasons, right? Freemasonry is stonemasonry. Um, Freemasonry is stonemasonry in a social setting. It's linked, though, to Christianity, to Judaism, to Islam, to Chinese mythology, to Egyptian mysticism. Um, it is linked to Stoic philosophy, architecture. Primarily, though, and first and foremost, Freemasonry is a continuation of stonemasonry and stonemasons in a social setting. And it is not Satanism, Mega, so very sorry. Oh, I'm sure. No doubt, Yo Maple. Like I said, as technology grows and improves, that means, for example, our ability to to ferment drinks is going to improve as well. Like I'm sure if you took an ancient winemaker and brought him and let him see how they make wine today and what it is, he'd think it was witchcraft or sorcery of some sort. Um, yes, as user puts, we are shaping a different type of stone. You could consider that stone to be ourselves. You could consider that stone to be our communities. You consider that stone to be our relationship between the two. I think all of which is perfectly fine and acceptable. It's kind of what do you choose to believe or think of as being important, right? This the stone is ultimately each individual's. It's up to each individual mason to decide the stone that he is shaping, and that might change day by day, right? Like Monday, you may try to work on yourself and improve yourself. Tuesday, you may try to improve your community. Wednesday, you may try to improve a relationship with a friend or a brother. Thursday, maybe your job. Try to become better at your job. It all just depends on what you want to focus on, right? I think sometimes we forget about that. Kale, welcome back. Good to see you once again. Did you hit the like and subscribe button if you're back? That's the most important question. There you go. So you must be an Englishman, I'm assuming. No, it's my other channel. Well, if you're subscribed on both channels, I'd appreciate it. Ships during the pre-filtration. It couldn't have heard anything. Well, yeah, I mean, That's a really interesting thing to talk about, right? Is the preservation of food on ships, especially for long voyages. They had to get like how do you get calories um like basically how do you make sure as much as possible you have your corn, sorry, you have your food being preserved. Because that was a huge deal, right? You're on a ship, there's no refrigeration, you could be on for weeks, I don't know how long, maybe months even. Food is weighty, so it's like you're trying to balance out how can we make sure to carry enough food and water while also getting enough nutrients, while also keeping it from spoiling, while also, there's so many things you have to take into account. It's fascinating. Um, no, BAW cannot. Do you have an open day? When you say open day, do you mean like open houses? I have had many open houses at my Masonic Lodge building. It's something I love to see people taking tours of the building to welcome them to the building. I think we in Freemasonry need to have more open houses. I think it's really important that we do that. I think it's unfortunate that we are not having as many open houses as we should. Our buildings are beautiful. And even if someone is not interested in being a Freemason, if they're interested in architecture, history, interior design, there is every single reason why they should want to take a tour of many of our buildings. History, tradition, but it's also up to us as Freemasons to welcome people to our lodges, to introduce them to our lodges, and to welcome them to open houses and special events. Um, yeah, I don't get this weird obsession with being a mod. Which is your Grand Lodge user, but that's awesome. You should have it all the time. Believe me, open houses are going to do nothing but support the brethren and the communities. Very many communities have what are called open doors open days, where they encourage local community groups and civic groups to open their doors to the public. Um, which is a good thing, Septimus, because unfortunately, in my experience, one of the dangers we have is there's a certain group of people who will say they want to learn about Freemasonry, but they don't mean it. They want what they already believe to be confirmed, unfortunately. Um, and that's always the danger you have to keep into account. When somebody's saying something like, we want the truth about Freemasonry, would they actually believe what they're saying, or do they simply want what they already believe to be reconfirmed? And if we tell them the truth, will they believe it if it goes against what they already believe to be true? Grand Lodge of Oregon, nice. Never been to a lodge in Oregon, but believe me, it's on my list of places I want to get to. Depends on what you use them for, Mortimer, but in general, I think computers are a very valuable tool. I think the danger is if you are overusing computers. Like, for example, social media is wonderful, but if you're using that as your exclusive way to communicate and socialize, probably not a healthy thing um, by any means. Yes, I got a big forehead, us all the way. Please hit like and subscribe. As Yo Maple says, if you want to learn more about my social media platforms, Medium, Facebook, whatever it might be, for heaven's sakes, check out the description to this video. Support me there as well. BAW, you need to find a better way to live your life, that's for sure. It's not a very good song either. Doesn't exactly rhyme. Being patriotic is a good thing. Being patriotic when you start to knock others is not okay. That's the problem, right? Meaning, for example, I've said it a million times, I love my country. I do. I think Canada is the greatest country in the world. However, one of the things I always say is I think our country is the greatest in the world because we have the greatest neighbors in the world. Um, I would never use my love of Canada to knock any other country, nor should anybody. Well, that's one of the things that Freemasonry teaches us, right? Is it's good to love oneself, it's good to love one's family, it's good to be patriotic, but it's also good to remember that people in other countries are people too with the same hopes, dreams, and fears that we have. And we are all ultimately descended of or from the same nature. Professor, I mean, if you're doing a fast, just make sure you talk to a doctor, make sure you're doing it safely. Um, what are those bands, user? Nationalism can be a trap. It depends on how you approach it. Again, nationalism that encourages you to love your neighbor and want to support your community is a good thing. Nationalism that makes you forget about humanity and people from other countries is a bad thing. Um, uh, I mean, Mexicans, Canadians, they do a lot of things. Like, they will help communities with forest fires. Like, they will send firefighters to the States during forest fires, emergencies, natural disasters. You see aid workers going there all the time. It's one of the things I love about Canada is our willingness to send help. And by the way, the favor is often returned. I don't know about American firefighters, but I know Mexican and South American firefighters were sent to British Columbia to help their firefighters fight forest fires. Professor, I think you can eat pork and drink alcohol and believe in Christ as well. I think it just depends on maybe your specific branch of Christianity. But I mean, there's no issue with that. Nice mayo and Oreos. Ben, I have no idea. I'd like to hope so because I'd be worried that if you invade one country, what's to stop you from going north or south and invading the others, right? That is the danger. Um, I have no idea what any of that stuff means, user. Um, I'm from Manitoba. Now I live in Ontario. So, Mort, I don't know anybody there. It's rare. I mean, if a Masonic building, Masonic buildings very often do require repair work, maintenance, janitorial service, custodian services. There's no harm in going there and approaching and asking them if they need anything. It's rare that they'll hire somebody though. Usually they work off of independent contractors. Like some lodges there, if they're big enough, like Detroit actually has janitors on staff and custodians and repair workers on staff. But for your smaller buildings, more often than not, what you actually see is they'll hire outside contractors, independent contractors to do the work. I can't really help you. I can say if you have those skills and you're looking for work, you can knock on the door and say, do you need help with landscaping or manual labor or repairs, custodians? A lot of times also lodges rely on volunteer efforts of their own membership to assist them. Um, BAW, people have the right to privacy. Saying like that is like saying I don't need privacy in my day-to-day life because I have nothing suspicious going on. That's like saying if you don't do anything wrong, you have nothing to fear. People have the right to privacy, they have the right to their own associations. Very often that attitude, is what you see in fascist or dictatorial governments, where if you have nothing to hide, why do you want your privacy? It's just a dumb attitude and a stupid attitude to take. And it's usually an attitude founded on resentfulness, right? Like, there's this group over here I'm not a part of. I resent them for that, so I'm going to cast dispersions on them. Um, I am a Master Mason, third degree Master Mason. What might be these sublime secrets of which you're talking about? And if there were secrets, I wouldn't share them on stream. I'd expect people to join and find out for themselves. Um, what if my personal life involves my friendship and my family and the people around me? How big does my personal life have to get before I'm no longer entitled to privacy? Um, Neither do I, Pastor Sempa. And one of the reasons I don't like fascism, and one of the reasons I like Freemasonry is because it provides a bulwark very often against fascism. Um, it's funny, Ben, you get the sense in that movie, which I don't like, by the way, I don't like Fight Club, but you get the sense in that movie that the whole reason they started the first rule as being we don't talk about Fight Club is because he knew, ironically, that creating that rule would ultimately get more people to talk about Fight Club. That's one of the greatest ironies in the world. Telling people something is secret or private usually gets them to want to talk about it more. It's the greatest irony of it. It depends. The lodge and the location, Septimus would have to give permission, right? Um, so if you're in a place that allows the public scattering of ashes, um, and if you're that, plus if the lodge itself gives you permission and it's okay. I'm sure there have been many times in the past where Masonic lodges have been home to ashes being scattered. It just depends on the lodge, the permission structure, things of that nature. But it wouldn't shock me. See, I was never a fan of Fight Club, Professor. Um, the highest degree in Freemasonry, Pastor, is the third degree. It's higher than the 33rd. It's higher than any other degree. The highest degree in Scottish Rite, if you want to say 33rd, you could. Although you could also argue maybe it's the 32nd, because 33rd is an honorary or honorific degree. Um, what I am is handsome, Carrie. Lord, please hit like and subscribe. No, I've answered the question, but I answered it a couple of times. Freemasonry and people within Freemasonry have the right to privacy without being judged for that desire. Our Masonic rituals are secretive or are private. The reason being they provide bonds of brotherhood through shared experiences and shared knowledge. If that knowledge is shared outside of the lodge or is shared outside of the craft, then it affects those bonds. Um, they can be, yo, Maple. They absolutely can be. Well, you can if you want to, and nothing's stopping you. Um, right? There's nothing stopping you from creating your own club or your own group and having private ceremonies and rituals therein. I would say you're kind of fighting against the tide because we're having a hard time sustaining the current clubs we have, but so be it, right? Privacy is personal, secrecy is intentionally withholding information. I mean, sure, but again, why is it that you personally have the right to maintain secrets, but I don't if I'm part of a group, right? Because you're part of a group as well. You're part of a variety of groups. It's human nature to be part of groups. If you join a company, they have trade secrets. You're not allowed to give those away. That doesn't mean the company's doing anything illegal. It just means there's an interest in keeping things private. Sometimes that interest is economic. Sometimes that interest is to maintain bonds of brotherhood. Um, right. But I mean, ultimately, Bob, that is the argument that you're making the same argument a lot of fascist groups have made throughout history, including the Nazis against Freemasonry, right? Why do you want privacy? Because governments like the Nazis, fascist groups, not just the Nazis, you see it in, for example, theocracies, you see it in Russian, the Russian communists after 1919. Ultimately, what they want to see is every relationship is between the individual and the state. So every relationship is civil and no relationship is civic. Um, Ben, well, fair enough, Bob. I think you and I just disagree. I think if a group is maintaining secrets, it's not fair for me to assume there's anything inherently illegal or immoral about it. I think it's fair for me to assume that they're a fraternity or they're a group or they're an organization and they're trying to maintain their bonds of brotherhood through those shared experiences. Um, well, Skull and Bones is a different organization, Professor. I don't see why, however, it was the case that you couldn't join. Like, if you're Skull and Bones, I don't see why you couldn't eventually choose to become a Freemason also. I've never met any Skull and Bones Freemasons, but I don't see why you couldn't. To my knowledge, Skull and Bones is a fraternity out of Yale, right? Which, fair enough. Many people are college Masons, or sorry, many people join fraternities in college and then go on to join Freemasonry. I think George Bush was, if I recall correctly, yes. Really, Robert, I love oysters. Oysters is literally my favorite food, so I support that. Because I love oysters. I think oysters are the best. Okay, I think we're about an hour, 11 minutes in. I have no idea what any of that means, Robert. I'm not that smart. I will say, though, oysters are like raw oysters is my favorite food. Somebody above said I was looking dehydrated, so I'm going to get more water. Then I'm going to talk about my weekend, how much I enjoyed it, where I was, what I talk about it, what I wanted to talk about as it relates to my trip this weekend. I am not bald. Look at all this hair. I'm doing just great. So, I don't think religions are satanic. What's wrong with tap water? Um, Professor, you get used to it, believe me. If you're gonna be on YouTube, you got to get used to people being rude to you. I don't know why or why people make these decisions, but kind of just is what it is. Um, Ben brings up a good point. If you're traveling, you need to pay attention. So, as you guys know, I have both YouTube memberships available and Patreon available as well on my channel. You can find the Patreon link below. You can join my YouTube memberships. Every now and then, I always like to make sure I give my Patreons and my YouTube members special access, or, I want to know what they want me to do, what they want me to cover, where they want me to go. They support my channel, so I want to give them a chance to have a direct say in the things I cover and the things I do. Um, I made a poll last week asking people, where do you want me to go? Do you want me to go to Illinois to celebrate Masonic Membership Visibility Day 2026, which was taking place in Illinois? Or did they want me to go to New York to try to check out in person the Masonic Medical Research Institute in New York? They were nice enough to vote, and by the time voting closed, the selection was travel to Illinois to take part in Masonic Medical Research Institute, which I did. I basically left Friday evening, took an all-night bus, spent Saturday, the 15th of August in Illinois, and then came back that night as well. Took an all-night bus and got back in Sunday, August 16th in the morning. Hello, Underboss. The first thing I want to talk about, and this has been getting a lot of views on social media, and please make sure you follow me across social media platforms, um, is how I made it from Canada to the States. Normally, I take the tunnel bus across, or I take a Greyhound or a Flixbus across. This time, for the first time in my 20 years of living in Ontario, of living in Windsor, I actually walked across, which was really, really cool, and I loved it. Um, I posted some pictures of me on the I posted some pictures of me on the Gordie Howe Bridge. Took me, so I was wheeling, so keep that in mind. I wasn't walking, but it took me about 20 minutes to wheel from one end, the Canadian side of the bridge, to the other. I stopped. That was including stopping to taking a whole bunch of pictures on the bridge, which was really, really cool, and I loved it. Um, getting, when I landed or wheeled across, there was no direct bus service to the pedestrian entrance of the bridge or the pedestrian exit on the Canadian side. So that was a bit of a hassle. I had to take a taxi or a lift to get there. It was still cheaper than taking the tunnel bus. But keep that in mind if you're planning to cross over. But I did just want to say, walking across the CRL, Coalition to Restore Coastal, hey, if they're trying to restore um, oyster shells, if they're trying to restore a coastal area, nothing but respect to them because I love nature, I love animals, I love oysters. I'd love to see all that stuff preserved and protected. So, nothing but respect to the Gordie Howe Bridge, to all of the engineers who built it, to, I'm going to say it, the politicians who made it possible. I think we need to give Stephen Harper a special shout out and the Conservatives for that. It was started under his watch. As a Freemason, I'm grateful to have another way to cross over and visit my Michigan brethren, my Michigan Masonic brothers. I'm also grateful to have a way to do so that's completely free, no longer costing me, you know, money to cross every single time because that is a big expense. Um, so if you live in Windsor, if you live in Detroit, or if you're visiting and you get the chance, try walking across. Over 20 years, this is my first time ever being able to walk or wheel directly into the United States of America from Canada, and I loved it. So I want to say how much I really enjoyed the start of my trip being walking across the Gordie Howe Bridge. Um, no, I cannot. Yes, Yo Maple, that's true as well. To everybody on both sides of the border, in Michigan and Ontario, in Canada and the US, in Windsor and in Detroit, nothing but respect for a really awesome bridge. And as a Freemason, I've said it before, as a Freemason, I want to make sure that we celebrate all the things that help our communities economically, financially, socially. The Gordie Howe Bridge does all of the above, as well as giving me the chance and the opportunity to visit my brethren, um, from Michigan, and in some ways from around the world. Because what that means I can do is travel to Michigan and then take, an airplane, go to the airport, fly somewhere, take the transit, take the bus system, whatever it might be. Um, Underboss, you don't have to like the U.S. government writ whole, but there are people in the government, there are people in every government working very hard to try to create better worlds and to try to help people around us. It's up to us to, it's up to us to try to make sure that we um, support them while recognizing that politics changes. So, anyways, from there, I took the Greyhound bus overnight, arrived in Chicago, Illinois, and I arrived during and the morning of Masonic Membership Visibility Day. Joe, give me a simple math problem. I'll see if I can do it. Let me just pull up the information specifically from Illinois. Because maybe I'm not good at simple math problems, in fairness. Thank you, Ishal. Please hit like and subscribe, excuse me. No, to be a Freemason, you must believe in a supreme being. Whatever that supreme being is up to you. Could be Muslim, Hindu, Sikh, First Nations, Indigenous. I'm going to talk about the Hindu faith actually in a little bit because it came up during my visit to Illinois. So the theme of the Grand Lodge of Illinois' Masonic Membership Visibility Day. Brotherly love equals kindness equals we care. This day is one of the most visible activities annually in which thousands of brethren proudly display their affiliation with our ancient and honorable fraternity. That outward display reflects the internal delight that exists regarding our personal and quality Masonic membership experience. Yes, you can be both a Freemason and a Christian. Ben, reflexive distrust of anything is never smart. Anything that is reflexive is by nature stupid. Well-qualified trust or distrust is what you need. So the very first thing I did upon arriving in Chicago, after getting some coffee, because that was definitely the most important thing, is I went to the Jefferson Park or Jefferson Masonic Temple, which is located on Gale Street within walking distance of the Jefferson Blue Line, the Jefferson Station. And I visited Poseidon Lodge, which meets Saturday mornings. I am the worshipful master of a daylight lodge as well. So even that I thought was really, really cool. The fact that I got to visit a Daylight Masonic Lodge. Daylight Masonic Lodges are incredibly important parts of our craft and our fraternity that are dying out for a variety of reasons. But actually, Poseidon was really well attended. I got to meet a lot of brothers. I also got to meet a few applicants who are looking at joining. That was really, really cool. I loved being in Poseidon. I love daylight lodges, especially when they serve breakfast beforehand. And in this case, they had hard-boiled eggs, they had donuts, they had coffee, they had fruit, they had a whole bunch of really good snacks. They also had a really awesome and really enjoyable discussion on one of the cardinal virtues of Freemasons, which is temperance. Discussing what the value of temperance is in our day-to-day life. Like, I had to be temperate dealing with Ba because he's very stupid. So you get used to that. Being temperate is a very important thing. The reason I want to bring that up, though, is, unfortunately, I think one thing that we forget about when it comes to visitation is we think that as Freemasons, we have to visit exclusively, or we should visit exclusively for special events, for celebrations, for dinners, for banquets, anything like that, right? That's when we should be visiting. We forget very often if it's if it's a regular business meeting, even if there's nothing special happening, nothing special going on, taking the time to visit, taking the time to go to another lodge, it can still be incredibly illuminating, incredibly helpful, and incredibly beneficial. Like, I would not have heard the discussion on temperance if I did not take the time to visit the Masonic Lodge in Chicago, in Jefferson Park. So I think it's incredibly important that we as Freemasons don't wait for a special occasion to visit. Visit when you can. Believe me, you're going to be happy that you did. And you never know the really incredible, really cool, really fun, really interesting things you may learn. So first and foremost, don't wait for special occasion. Freemasonry is in and of itself a special occasion. Being alive is in and of itself a special occasion. And every degree, every business meeting can have something special, can have something that you can celebrate. And so I was grateful that I got the chance to visit, check them out, and learn about temperance, learn about Poseidon Lodge, have a great breakfast, and enjoy my time. That was the very first thing I did that morning. It was awesome. I discovered a few other things. I discovered, for example, that August 15th, aside from being Masonic Membership Visibility Day, was also National Honeybee Day in the United States, which was really, really cool. And yes, Yo Maple, they did. And in fact, the I think I mentioned this before, but the uh, Martin Luther King Jr., his location, like his headquarters, was actually within a Prince Hall Masonic Lodge. And if I recall correctly, Martin Luther King Jr.'s father and grandfather were both Prince Hall Masons, um, if I recall correctly. So, anyways, August 15th, I posted on my YouTube. Well, thank you, Hello World. Please hit like and subscribe. Yeah, the main headquarters, Joshua. As I posted, oops. Truly a pleasure visiting my Masonic brethren in Chicago on Saturday, August 15th. Masonic Membership Visibility Day with all regular Freemasons in Illinois. Great lodge, that was Poseidon Lodge. Great members. I should have also added great building. This year's theme, brotherly love equals kindness equals we care. So I thought that was really cool. But then, as I said, August 15th was also National Honeybee Day in the States. The bee is a very, very important symbol within Freemasonry. As Brother Thomas Webb described, the beehive is an emblem of, this is Thomas Webb famously wrote the Freemasons Monitor in 1802, wrote the following. The beehive is an emblem of industry and recommends the practice of that virtue to all created beings, from the highest seraph in heaven to the lowest reptile of the dust. He that will so demean himself as not to endeavor to add to the common stock of knowledge and understanding may be deemed to drone in the hive of nature, a useless member of society, and unworthy of our protections as Masons. That was Thomas Smith Webb, Freemasons Monitor, 2nd edition, 1802. So that was happening while I was in the States, so I felt it worthy of mentioning that and celebrating it. Also, August 15th was National Acadian Day in Canada. The Acadians are an ethnic group descended from the French who settled in the New France colony of Acadia during the 17th and 18th centuries. Acadian culture first emerged in and around Port Royal, present-day Annapolis, Nova Scotia, which served as the principal settlement and administrative center during much of Acadia's early history. This history includes Freemasonry, Canada's first Masonic lodge formed in Annapolis, Nova Scotia. On returning to Annapolis in June of 1738, Phillips took with him a deputation from Henry Price to form a lodge at Annapolis Royal, with himself designated as the first master. The record reads that Mr. Price granted a deputation at ye petition of sundry brethren at Annapolis in Nova Scotia to hold a lodge there. Right? So my point there being August 15th, it was Masonic Membership Visibility Day in Illinois, but that doesn't mean we don't get to celebrate Freemasonry and our members around the world, including, the history of it in Annapolis, Nova Scotia, being the first Masonic lodge in Canada, as well as special Masonic emblems or symbols, right? August 15th is Masonic Membership Visibility Day. It's also National Honeybee Day. So we should celebrate honeybees, or bees in general, and their connection to Freemasonry. I also posted on my socials my interview with Brother Gerald Carlton. In fact, Right Worshipful Brother Gerald Carlton. He is a Freemason out of Illinois. He definitely and without doubt demonstrates the theme of brotherly love and kindness and caring. So I was happy to repost his interview and his video. Censored, I have no idea what you're talking about, but you need to relax a little bit. I mean, I don't know what you're talking about there, Axe, either. What hole in the Middle East are you referring to? It was also on August 15th, Indian Independence Day, a national holiday celebrated annually August 15th. It commemorates the historic date in 1947 when the Indian Independence Act came into effect, ending 200 years of British colonial rule and establishing India as a free nation. Um, Freemasonry has an incredible history in India, which I've talked about in the past. The very first Masonic lodge in India was established in Calcutta in 1730. Over the next 2 centuries, Freemasonry spread across British India with lodges in Calcutta, Bombay, Madras, and many other major cities. And I posted that on my socials as well. Um, so, anyways, after using Masonic Membership Visibility Day to celebrate and hang out with my brothers at Poseidon Lodge at the Jefferson Masonic Temple on Gale Street, I then posted celebrating Indian Independence Day, Acadian Day, and National Honeybee Day. All, special events that celebrate Masonic history, Masonic symbolism, and Masonic membership. So, what better day to post about that than on Masonic Membership Visibility Day? Followed by that, I took a break. I went to some of my favorite places in Glenview, genuinely, which I've always loved and appreciated being there. And then I got to end the day in a very cool moment, something which I wasn't expecting. And so that's something I really appreciated. I ended up visiting the Hanuman Temple in Glenview, Illinois, where I had the pleasure of learning more about the Hindu faith and the Hindu relationship with Freemasonry. I loved the visit, and it was a true highlight in a place I love. I've talked about this before, but Freemasonry welcomes men of all different faiths, backgrounds, and beliefs. Um, that includes of the Hindu faith, and I've known Hindu Masons and Hindu brothers. But unfortunately, I know very little about the Hindu faith. It just so happened that the Hanuman Temple in Glenview, Illinois was having a special celebration. They were bringing in a special guest speaker, and as a result of that, they were welcoming people from the public to come in, say hello, learn more about the faith. They had free dinner. I got some delicious curries, delicious lentil and beans. They gave me some fruit. It was really good food, as well as sweet milk, which I never tried before, but it was milk. I think it was milk sweetened with like cinnamon and cloves and nuts. It was really, really, really good. Um, and I was just grateful for the welcoming. We did talk a little bit. The brother and the person I talked to was actually not a Mason, but was considering joining Freemasonry. He had visited the Glenview, or it's not the Glenview. He had visited the Jefferson Lodge a few times. We talked about, for example, the volume of the Sacred Law that would be most recognizable to Hindus, the Bhagavad Gita. We talked about the different types of figures and traditions within the Hindu faith. We talked about Hinduism in India, where obviously the majority of Hindus are from India, and also Freemasonry in India, which he knew a little bit about, and Indian Hindu Masons. Um, we talked about ways to ensure that people of the Hindu faith feel welcome in our lodges, things like dietary restrictions some may have, how they understand their faith, which volumes of sacred law to have there. It was a really cool and really interesting opportunity to learn about a faith that I know my brothers share, but that I don't know much about. Um, so, strategy, the biggest, sorry, not Colorado, Glenview, Illinois. Um, would I like to explore Masonry more before I continue? What lodge are you in? Well, they can think what they want, Ben. Freemasonry, it's not my place to tell anyone if their religion is right or wrong, nor is it a Freemason's place. Certainly, a Christian has the right in a church or in, to think, but certainly in a church to say this, my religion is correct and all of the other religions are incorrect. And he certainly has the right to that belief. But whether you're Christian or Muslim or Jewish or Hindu or Sikh, you can be a good neighbor, you can be a good friend, you can be a good Masonic brother, you can be a good coworker, and that's what Freemasonry is concerned with, right? Are you going to be a good member of the community, a good citizen, a good friend, a good neighbor? In the same way, I don't care if my neighbor is Muslim, Hindu, Christian, Sikh, First Nations. What I care about is whether he plays his music loudly or not on the weekends, and whether he respects, my home. Um, I don't care whether my Masonic brother is Christian, Muslim, Hindu, Sikh, Buddhist, First Nations. I just care about, is he a good brother? So, John, I am a member of 5 Masonic lodges. Uh, but my mother lodge is Windsor Lodge 403, where I'm a past master. Um, I'm also the current worship master of Border Cities Lodge number 554. So, strategy. The biggest connection that I found was related to the belief in a supreme being, the volume of the sacred law, because within Freemasonry, again, we don't need a specific belief in a supreme being, but confirming that the Hindu faith does have belief in a supreme being, and also the volume of the sacred law that is used, the Bhagavad Gita, which I have seen used in Masonic buildings before. And I asked the person I was speaking with, would would that be the standard, would that be the standard book or volume used for someone in the Hindu faith? And they said yes. Also, we discussed Hindu Freemasons in India, or Hindu Freemasons in general. And we mentioned, let me just pull it up to make sure I got the quotation right. Trying to get his name to confirm it, sorry. Swami Vivekananda. He mentioned him to me. And then also, let me just get the quote correct. There it is. We also discussed the Rudyard Kipling poem, The Mother Lodge, which features a famous concluding line. I'm just pulling this up to make sure I get the line correct because I couldn't remember the line at the time. Right, so there it is. Them riding home with Mohammed, God, and Shiva, changing pickets in our lead. Rudyard Kipling famously wrote a poem called The Mother Lodge, in which he references a multi-racial, multi-faith colonial Masonic lodge in British India, which included men of the Hindu faith. And he mentions specifically Shiva. The Mason, or not the Mason, the man I talked to who's looking at potentially joining, he actually was aware of the poem, but didn't read it before. So I taught him about that reference of the Hindu god in the Mother Lodge. He was aware of a lot of Masonic lodges in India and a lot of Hindu people joining. But I thought that was really cool. That's a famous poem. If you ever get the chance to read it, it's called The Mother Lodge by Rudyard Kipling. And then I learned a little bit more about the faith in general. So if and when I'm able to meet, if I'm next time I'm lucky enough to be able to meet some Hindu brethren, I will be able to talk to them about their faith a little bit more. Like present there was the statue of Hanuman. One thing I learned about him, the monkey god, is they give him bananas as a tribute, but he is very often worshipped by wrestlers, by Greco-Roman and Muay Thai fighters in India for his toughness and strength, which I learned, which I thought was really cool. So strategy, I hope that made sense. I would say the biggest connection that I did not so much learn about but reaffirmed was the Mother Lodge poem by Rudyard Kipling. I mean, John, I'll talk to conspiracy theorists, but it depends on what else I want to talk about, right? I don't always have time to deal with conspiracies. That's the problem. Um, There you go, John. I've seen the Bhagavad Gita used in a Masonic building once as a volume of sacred law. John, I've been to Denver before. I'd love to be back. I think it would be incredible. Um, Strategy, maybe. I mean, the idea of the all-seeing eye is nothing new, right? It's nothing new at all. Eye of Ra, Eye of Providence. So we see it a lot. Um, I've never met any Scientologists in Freemasonry. I'd have no issue if they were to join. I'd be perfectly fine if they wanted to, because my knowledge, they believe in a supreme being called Xenu, but it's not something I know anything about, so it's not really something I can speak to. Um, I got a big forehead. What can I say? It's to be expected on YouTube, that's for sure. If you want to be on YouTube, you got to get used to people having misconceptions about it. So, anyways, I attended there. It was also a great place to be on Masonic Membership Visibility Day, both as a way for me to make myself visible to another community, in this case, a faith community, that maybe would not have known about me otherwise. So I thought that was really cool. And also to learn more about our Masonic members. In this case, the faith of some of our Masonic members, which has been referenced as far back as the Mother Lodge, written in, hold on just one sec, 1894. So as early as 1894, we have evidence of Hinduism in Freemasonry, and probably even before that. Well, you heard wrong. Freemasonry welcomes, we have gay members, straight members. It does not make a difference. Black, white, whatever it is. You can be gay, straight, you can be black, you can be white, you can be Muslim, you can be Hindu, you can be Sikh. It's not about sexual orientation, ethnicity, race, any of that stuff. It's about, are you a good person and honorable? So from there, I made my way back to Glenview Station, took the metro back to Chicago, and left 11:35 at night. Nothing but respect, by the way, to Flixbus and Greyhound. I've been on those buses hundreds of times, spent tens of thousands of hours on the highways. Home sweet highway indeed. I loved my trips, as always. It's incredible. They're really cool people. They got me where I needed to go safely. Thank you to the bus drivers. When I arrived back in Detroit, I had about a 3 hour wait from arriving to taking the tunnel bus back over. So I went to the MGM casino. One thing I'm always telling people is be very careful. If you have any problems with gambling, it's probably safer to not go. But if you are like me and are a regular traveler, which I am, I'm traveling all the time, and I'm lucky to do so, and traveling on a budget, casinos present a great place to go in order to rest and relax. You don't have to gamble. Very often they provide free drinks, free pop, free coffee. Sometimes they'll even have snacks depending on your level, but they almost always provide free coffee and free beverages, free bottles of water. They're also safe. They're well lit. So if you're concerned about, where you are going to find time to crash, they're usually very safe places. There's security. And for me, because, it's so close to the bus station, they provide a great place to grab a free coffee, a free beverage, and just relax before my flight back. When I'm traveling, I need every way I can to save money. So somebody also mentioned above, they feed me. I've been lucky enough to get to many Masonic meetings where they fed me. It's helped me save a couple bucks, so it's very important. I'm gonna go close my window because somebody's banging outside. I'll be back in a moment. Um, Yes, I mean, don't be that guy. I'm saying some people, if you struggle with gambling, it may be best to not do that. But if you don't struggle and you're not worried about yourself, take advantage of the free drinks, free food as you're traveling. If you want to be like me and be a Mason who travels, you need to pick up all these different hacks. Eating at a Masonic lodge is a big one. Finding out different places that, lodge events, lodge meetings, lodge celebrations, whatever it might be. Um, and then I made it back. So yeah, I guess first of all, once again, in terms of Masonic Membership Visibility Day, thank you to Poseidon Lodge at the Jefferson Park Masonic Temple for allowing me to attend your meeting as a visitor. I loved your discussion on temperance, the Masonic value of temperance, why it's important, and how we as Freemasons can practice temperance in our day-to-day lives as well as our Masonic career. I was also grateful to share the interview I did with Brother Jerry Carlton. I hope that you guys will check that out. He truly exemplifies kindness and brotherly love, which was the themes of Masonic Membership Visibility Day. Um, Also, I was grateful to share information about National Honeybee Day and Honeys in Freemasonry, India and Indian Freemasonry, and Acadia and Acadian Freemasonry. Many of our members are Acadian, many of our members are from India. Then I was grateful to the Hanuman Temple in Glenview, Illinois, where I had the pleasure of learning more about the Hindu faith, Hindu's relationship with Freemasonry, specifically confirming the Rudyard Kipling Mother Lodge poem, as well as the Supreme Being, which would be recognized by the Hindu faith, the the sacred law they use, and the presence of Hindu Masons specifically in India for at least let me just pull up the date again. At least since, if I recall correctly, 1730. But let me double check. Um, yes, 1730. Then I was grateful that, these lodges, for example, with the meals, the Hindu temple with the meals, allow me to travel, allow me to save money on food, allow me to cut budgetary corners, all of which is something I absolutely need to do in order to be able to travel as much as I've been able to do. The other thing that allows me to travel as much as I can is your support. So please support this channel, super chat, comment, like, share, become a Patreon. That is the things that I need you guys to do in order to help me have a successful Masonic experience and to turn my passion for Freemasonry into profession. Thank you to all of my Patreons and members who voted and who sent me to Chicago. I'm truly grateful. Next thing we have coming up, please don't forget, August 21st, starting at 2 p.m. Eastern to August 22nd, going to be doing a 24-hour content marathon celebrating the Masonic Medical Research Institute. 50% of all the funds raised during that content marathon will be going directly to the Masonic Medical Research Institute for its work and its effort in groundbreaking and cutting edge medical research, all of which we'll be talking about on the 21st through to the 22nd. Cutting corners metaphorically, Rondo. Cutting corners metaphorically. Obviously, literally, all my corners are nothing but 90 degrees. Hey, continental breakfasts are great, underboss. And I mean, all you need, right? Eggs, donuts, fruit, coffee. What more could you ask for, right? Well, thank you, John. If you want to support the channel, consider some super chats, all that jazz. I'd really appreciate it. Denver. I'd love to get to Denver, Ben. I love Denver. I was there 4 years ago, 3 years ago. Beautiful place. I loved it. I'll pray for you, bro. Esoteric knowledge. I'm not a huge fan of esoteric knowledge, Luke. I mean, there's a value to it. Don't get me wrong. I understand that people find it interesting. I think sometimes we as Freemasons get way too lost in esoteric knowledge. I think our focus needs to be more on the practical day-to-day ways that we as Freemasons can use Freemasonry to be relevant to our communities and to create better worlds through charitable actions, through limiting vulnerable, through all the ways that Freemasonry helps communities economically, socially, all the ways that Freemasonry helps its membership. I think that stuff is usually far more valuable to focus upon. All the things that Freemasons have to do to create better worlds, create better communities, all the things that we can do. I think that is far more valuable as a general rule than, say, um, whether Hiram Abiff was real or not. I watched some of the World Cup, not a lot. The organization is not as esoteric as you think, Luke. Like, for example, a few weeks ago, I talked about the way that Freemasonry helps people achieve the, hierarchical or achieve Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That's not esoteric, right? The hierarchy of needs or the pyramid of needs is well known. And the way that Freemasonry helps people achieve those things is also, I think, well known. Um, Hey, travel hacks are important. I talk about travel hacks a lot because if you want to be a Mason, travel is a really valuable and important way that through travel is a way to expand your Masonic career and your Masonic experience. It's incredibly important. And sometimes you need hacks to be able to do it well. So, um, because if I didn't have hacks, I could not afford it. No, none of that's true, Luke. Um, Freemasonry is not a religion, so it cannot worship anything, right? Freemasonry is not set up to worship. Freemasonry, different Masons are of different religious faiths. Divine think that religion can be very valuable for people. It can help them not just find purpose, but find meaning in their life. However, I would not describe myself as religious. I believe in a supreme being, but that supreme being, um, I do not believe. I believe in a supreme being, but I'm not one of any particular faith. Put it that way. That's a good way to put it, Rondo Ellsworth. Whether you call it a hack or call it best practice, you know, I've written about it a lot, Rondo, on social media. The travel hacks slash travel best practices upon which I rely and which I think are incredibly important in order to successfully travel and successfully engage in travel, not just as a Freemason, but as anybody, but especially especially I think as a Freemason, traveling is so incredibly important. I mean, you got a loophole as well. I think you got to be careful with loopholes because loopholes can seem like you're trying to get away with something. A travel best practice, like for example, always carry your dues cards with you. That's not a loophole. That's just an important hack. Um, what are my views on sigils? I'm not sure isn't a sigil like a crest? What would you do if you were me? I don't know who you are, Can. That's a hard thing to ask, Canna Staines, because I don't know what you are. It's always hard to know what to do if somebody else is going through. So, swamp rat. I mean, So there's different degrees in Freemasonry. I think that's what you mean by different levels. There's first, second, and third degree, which are all within the craft lodge, which is very important, right? There is your Scottish Rite, York Rite degrees. There's different independent bodies, but the three degrees that matter most within Freemasonry is um, you'll make, but that's not a bad loophole. I'll give you that one. Um, so there's the different degrees, first degree, second degree, third degree within Freemasonry. However, ultimately, all Freemasons are equal to one another and equal to people who are not Freemasons, right? Freemasonry doesn't make you better than anybody else, except maybe yourself. Strategy, good question. Traveling is important in Freemasonry for a number of different reasons. First, you have the opportunity to do so. When you are a Freemason somewhere, you're a Freemason everywhere. So getting the chance to, like, it's a bit like, if you're a member of a gym, I think, like you're a member of like a fitness club. If that fitness club has branches around the world, you can visit any one of those branches, right? So failing to do so is kind of like leaving value or money on the table. You're paying dues to one particular lodge, but you're welcome to visit lodges all around the world. Why not take advantage of it, right? Why not take advantage of your money's worth, basically? But beyond that, travel gives you different perspectives and different ideas upon Freemasonry that you can then apply to your own Masonic experience or to your lodge, right? Like, for example, I visited a lodge in Chicago this weekend. I happened to hear a discussion on temperance. I can now take what I heard, what I learned, apply it to my own life, but also get ideas for how I can bring that back to my Masonic lodge. I can suggest maybe we have, monthly education, monthly discussions, pick different topics. I now have a new idea from that brother taking the time. It'll remind you that you are part of a truly universal society, but more importantly than that, it will allow you to gain different perspectives on people. I've written about this before. Anthony Bourdain. It's also great to see how the lodges do it, because one of the beautiful things about that, John, is it gives you ideas again. So, for example, one of the things that happens very often within our life, right, is a Masonic lodge is doing a degree, and every degree, the same members do the same work the same way, because it's like, oh, that's Bob's lecture, that's Joe's lecture. So you know exactly how they're going to say it, exactly how they're going to proceed. It's very easy in those moments to zone out and to forget kind of why you're there because you've heard it a million times. Going to a different lodge, you may hear the exact same lecture. It may be the exact same lecture, the exact same words. However, because a different brother is saying it, he may incorporate different hand gestures. He may incorporate different emphasis on different words, a different pace, a different speaking style. And suddenly, you completely reevaluate the lecture, what it means to you, what you think about it. You maybe get ideas on how you want to perform it, how you want to emulate somebody else's work. And suddenly, you completely reconsider what it means, what that piece means, and what it means to be a Freemason. You also just get incredible memories, right, that you would not get otherwise. Anthony Bourdain stated, "If I'm an advocate of anything, it's to move as far as you can, as much as you can, across the ocean or simply across the river. The extent to which you can walk in someone else's shoes, or at least eat their food, or sit in their lodge, is a plus for everybody." I'm actually planning to go see the Anthony Bourdain movie. I really want to. I think it'd be really cool to see. So it's about getting different ideas, getting new perspectives, all of which can be brought back to your lodge or your own life. Being better able to understand that people in different countries are still people, and taking advantage of, getting your money's worth, basically. I hope that made sense. Yes, Zig says traveling also showcases the importance of broadening your purview of what Freemasonry is. Yes, it does. This idea that Freemasonry is the same everywhere, it's not. If you do not take the time to learn more about other lodges, how they do it, you're going to be disappointed. Gus, no Satan friends here. You're in the wrong stream. You don't know what you're talking about. But please hit like and subscribe nonetheless. And you get cool stuff. I've got so many coins, pins, cups. Like, it's insane the number of different things I've gotten over the years. I mean, I've shown people here my pins before, but nothing's wrong with Satanism, but I'm not a Satanist, and nor is Freemasonry satanic. I've never met a satanic Freemason. I'm not going to tell anybody what to do or not do, or what to believe or not believe. And if you believe in Satanism, then more power to you. But it's not Masonic. Well, I mean, the different perspective strategy master, I mean, it could be something as simple as the way a lecture is performed, right? So I remember visiting a lodge in, I forget where it was, but I had always seen the Masonic ritual or a particular piece of Masonic ritual performed a single way. It was always one person standing in front of the brother and the brother standing facing the opposite direction, looking at him, listening to him. When I got to go and see this one version of the ritual, it was they did it sitting. They brought two chairs and they sat, and they didn't sit facing one another. They sat with their kind of parallel, looking out at the lodge, and it gave me a different perspective on that piece of ritual, right? It gave me a different perspective about what it meant. I started to view it less as one person talking to another person and more as one person engaging in conversation. And so when I tried to do that ritual the next time back in my lodge, I tried to speak in a manner that was more conversational and less instructive, if that makes any sense. So sometimes it's that simple. Sometimes it's about the value of Freemasonry. Like, I learned a lot about the value of Freemasonry when visiting lodges in South America, particularly in poorer areas, and to see the value that the lodges have in those cases to the community and as a social safety net. And the fact that very often, people who have so little were actually willing to still share their food and their refreshments with me and with others. It reminds you and reaffirms the importance of Freemasonry in a variety of different ways. Hearing Masonic ritual in different languages, it gives you a new perspective on the universality of the craft. It's one thing to be able to hear people talking a different language and not understand what they're saying, but to actually sit in a lodge, to hear people speaking a different language, but yet to know exactly what is happening, what is going on, it gives you a new perspective on the universality of Freemasonry and the importance of bridging cultures. I'd say those are the three perspectives. And then just, what perspective do you get by trying a different culture's food, by talking to someone from a different country, by talking to somebody from a different community, right? I mean, the same is the same reason Anthony Bourdain loved to travel. You get a different view and perspective on culture, which can only make and create a more fulsome life. It's just this way you have an excuse to do so. You're literally a Freemason. You literally are their brothers. Kavoosh, because they don't know what they're talking about. I mean, I think it's harder to game without traveling strategy. Like, in theory, Masonic ritual and ceremony should not be on social media. I'm sure it is. But my ability to see a different person perform Masonic ritual in a different country, in a different place, in a different community, I kind of need to do that in person. It's very hard to do it out otherwise, and it's probably going to be more impactful if I see it in person. Hearing Masonic ritual in a different language is pretty impactful. It's hard to do that on social media. Talking to somebody face to face from, let's say, Brazil, about why they love Freemasonry. Again, there's an impact in person. And Anthony Bourdain could have probably just ordered Vietnamese food to him. He was rich enough to do it. He actually went there and ate the Vietnamese food in Vietnam. And I think it gave him, as he would say, a different and better perspective on the culture and the people. Well, I'm doing it, TJ. So what are they going to do? Um, no, we do not have any Satanism in Freemasonry. It's none that I've ever seen. TJ, I don't think so, but if you want to help stop them from doing that, hit the like button and hit the subscribe button. That would be very helpful. We are at over 4,570 subs. I'm trying to get to 5,000. I'm hoping we can get there soon. We've kind of had a little bit of a drop in subscriber count lately, so I think experiencing is always better than judging as a general rule. There are exceptions, but I think as a general rule, it's always better to experience something than to judge it. Well, I mean, part of it, the way I talk is this way because I'm streaming for, a few hours every day. It's very hard to talk, if I start talking in a way that modulates my voice too much, goes up and down and loud and quiet, it doesn't work. You kind of got to protect your voice in some ways. I agree. I would say a life spent traveling is a life well spent, and learning and traveling and learning, I could argue, are one and the same. Nope, Gregory Freemasonry is not satanic. And no, lodges don't do evil stuff. I mean, a lodge may, like they currently have the trial going on in France, but that's not a reflection on Freemasonry. And the lodge in France is a uh, clandestine lodge. I cannot visit them. Hello, Kavush. Am I Christian? I would not describe myself as Christian. My supreme being is the rational nature of the universe as expressed through science. But having said that, I would say the majority of Masons I know are Christians. So, Joe, but a very handsome cartoon character, right? Please hit like and subscribe. Sorry, tried as what? I'm not sure what you mean by that. No, I didn't quit Masonry. I'm still here talking about it. Sure. I mean, I would say I've always said my favorite place in the world to be is not here, right? I love travel. I love visitation. I love being in different parts of the world. I love highways. I love buses. I love trains. If I could spend my whole life traveling somewhere else, I would. Um, and I always feel like I always try when I visit somewhere to see where I'm visiting to try to be part of these places, right? It's really important. Can I say what degree I made it to? I made it to the highest degree in Freemasonry, which is the third degree. I'm also 18th degree Scottish Rite. Um, Gus, I mean, I'm pretty sure Israel is real. Now, you can argue and disagree with it politically, whatever, who cares? That's everybody's decision. But the idea of it's not real, I don't really know what that means. Some Freemasons will be Zionists, some will not be. It just depends on kind of what you believe, um, what your personal political opinions are. But as I've said before, we don't discuss religion or politics in lodge. So Scottish Rite is an appendant body of Freemasonry. So to be a Scottish Rite Mason, you must first be what's called a Craft Lodge Freemason and have your third degree, the highest degree in Freemasonry. Afterward, you can choose to join Scottish Rite. You can choose to join York Rite. You can choose to join Shriners, Eastern Star. But that's kind of, those are separate things, right? Those are appendant bodies. Freemasonry itself, at its core, is the craft lodges and the first few degrees. That is the foundation upon which all else rests. Yeah, John, you get used to it. White, well, that's a very concerning name. White is right, black is right. Every race, religion, color, ethnicity is right, as a Freemason would tell you. Um, what do the bodies actually do? Like the appendant bodies? I mean, they do the same things as the craft lodges, just kind of expand upon it in some ways. So they expand on the stories and allegories of the first few degrees. You can consider them in some ways like university courses or adult education courses on the symbolism and stories found in the craft ritual. They engage in charitable activities very often. They organize and run, for example, learning centers for children with dyslexia. Charitable work, hospitals, childcare. They do a lot of, like Shriners hospitals for children. So they kind of take the core tenets of brotherly love, relief, and truth and give people greater and more opportunities to practice them. Um, we do not maintain modern civilization. I'd like to think we make modern civilization better, not just us, but civic institutions in general. So, um, as a rule, you don't get invited into Freemasonry. You have to take the first step. But I mean, certainly, if you're friends with somebody and they're a Freemason, they may tell you like, "Hey, do you want to join my lodge or something? Wouldn't it be cool if you join?" So that stuff can happen. Um, but Freemasonry is not an invitational order. You need to take the first step and approach the lodge yourself and express your interest in joining. Um, so some of these are keeping you able to join. Certainly, if you're too young, you need to be at least 21 in Ontario. Other places, 16. But you need, or sorry, 18, excuse me. You need to be at least 18 in Michigan to join, at least 21 in Ontario. It's usually either 21 or 18. So if you're too young, you couldn't join. If you don't believe in a supreme being, but keep in mind, supreme being is very broadly defined. Um, but those are the two most basic things. After that, if you're trying to join because you think being a Freemason will make you rich or famous or powerful, if you have a significant criminal record, like, who knows what, something very serious, that's not an automatic disqualification, but it will make it more challenging. But mostly at that point, it's about you getting to know the lodge and the lodge getting to know you. Working with them to talk to them about why you want to join, what you hope to get from it, the value you think you'll bring to Freemasonry, things of that nature. And it's up to the lodge to decide. Um, well, I think brotherly love requires that acknowledgement to a certain extent. Part of loving someone is understanding and recognizing the challenges that they are going through in life, and how we can hopefully empathize with that. I think brotherly love has an element of empathy with it and to it very much. Um, or do it to contribute something to the community around you, is what I'd add to that. Stephanie, Chicago was incredible. I was talking about it a little while ago. It was absolutely wonderful. I loved it very much. I talked about it on my socials. I hope you followed. The morning started with Poseidon Lodge, meeting out of the Jefferson Park Masonic Temple, or Jefferson Masonic Temple, followed by posting about Masonic members in India, Acadia, posting about symbolism of bees and Freemasonry, and then learning about the Hindu faith and its connections to Freemasonry. Um, I've been spending a lot of time outside lately, so I definitely got myself a nice tan. I think everybody suffers. I don't think the person who started Freemasonry suffered more, but probably had a lot of empathy. Thip, you're getting political. We don't, Freemasons discuss politics. D Mole is an excellent youth group for young boys aged, I forget the ages, 11 to 21, if I recall correctly. Out of all the places, Swamp Rat, which would you say was most fulfilling to you? I would probably say Glenview, to be honest, Glenview, Illinois, because it's like a place I love more than anywhere else. Um, how does the work of Freemasons interact with the rest of the world, if you can speak on that? I can speak on that, um, but not right now, because right now I need to go to the washroom like crazy. I'll be back in a moment. But TJ, mark that question. Um, I can tell you how Freemasonry and its work interacts with the world in one moment. I'll be back. I just got to run to the washroom like crazy. Oops, I'm back. All right. Well, I mean, John, yeah, that's what we call modes of recognition, right? It's about creating a bond of brotherhood through shared experiences is what's so important and what matters so much, right? I mean, I don't think brotherly love is the most important tenet of Freemasonry. I don't think there is a most important tenet of Freemasonry. I think every Mason needs to decide that for himself what is the most important tenet, right? Like for me, I don't know if I would say brotherly love is the most important tenet necessarily. I think it just depends on every Mason needs to decide that for himself. Every Mason gets to decide what the most important aspect of Freemasonry is for him. Generally speaking, brotherly love, relief, and truth are kind of the three most talked about. I think charity is up there. I think for me, the most important tenet of Freemasonry is tolerance. I think that by far and away is the most beautiful thing. Um, but strategy, other people may have different ideas. So, TJ, you asked about how does Freemasonry interact with the world. Well, it interacts. I've said this before. There's the good that Freemasonry does simply by existing, and there's the good that Freemasonry does by choice. For example, Freemasonry reduces the vulnerabilities in communities that criminals use to prey upon and control victims. It reduces the isolation people can feel. It helps people have a sense of purpose. a sense of esteem, a sense of growth, all of which make them less likely to be victims of scams, fraud, things of that nature, while also ensuring they have support if their family is struggling. I've known Masons who would have been homeless were it not for the Masonic Lodge stepping in and providing them with assistance. That doesn't just help uh, the brother, that helps the whole community, right? Because every time someone would be homeless, but um, every time a Mason would be homeless but ends up being helped, it doesn't just help that Mason. That's less people who are living on the street. That's less people who need to take advantage of shelter space, community resources. Freemasonry makes people healthier and live longer, needing less time in hospitals, less time in care homes, again, which frees up resources for everybody else. Freemasonry donates millions of dollars or millions of pounds to charities around the world, which is something that I think is incredible as well. It doesn't get enough credit for. It creates stronger civic institutions. It creates stronger societies. It preserves knowledge from over 300 years ago. And I don't just mean, like, I'm not talking esoteric knowledge of the universe. I'm talking about meeting minutes, documents, books, records, bills, all of which provide a fascinating glimpse into the history of communities and the world 300 years ago. If you want to know what it was like in Chicago, 200 years ago, whatever it was, talk to some Masonic lodges about their minute books and their record books, and you'll get a really good glimpse of the social and economic structure, all of which is being preserved and kept by Freemasons in our lodges through our record keeping. Freemasonry engages in community cleanup events, goods, collect food for food banks, as well as toiletries, supports learning centers for children with dyslexia, Shriners Children's Hospitals, all to name just a few. Hello, Mr. Peaceful. Um, well, I don't think everyone has the same few ideas. At least I hope not. I mean, at its most basic core strategy, the one, I guess, idea that everybody would agree on is that it's worth spending time with other people. Beyond that, a lot of people have different ideas about Freemasonry. Like when I talk about the Supreme Being, I might be referring to something very different than the next person, right? Um, that is something you see very often. Grifter, maybe they did, maybe they didn't. I don't actually have any legs. If you want to find out what the ceremony's like, you got to join. No, I mean, you could have any job, TJ, and be a Freemason. I mean, I suppose you can't have an illegal job, obviously. Like, if your job is drug dealer, you can't be a Freemason. But so long as what you're doing is legal, um, then yeah, it's perfectly fine. Um, Whoa, Emily, calm down a little bit. If you want to be on YouTube, you have to get used to dealing with some a-holes. That's just the way it is. But I would say this has been a pretty tame chat. Um, sure, you can be removed from Freemasonry. As a general rule, the most common reason is to be removed from Freemasonry is you just don't pay your dues. And that's usually the person wants to leave anyways. If you're to commit a crime of some sort, then it's more likely that you're get kicked out of Freemasonry. You should be, because we as Freemasons should obey the laws of the country in which we live. But there can be reasons. Um, yeah, Yo Maple, you get used to it. I mean, there probably are satanic Freemasons. It wouldn't shock me, but I've never met any. And to my understanding, Satanism Your supreme being is yourself, which does not work well with the Masonic perspective. Um, well, the dues are usually consistent. I mean, I'm a member of 5 Masonic lodges. The cheapest Masonic lodge I'm a part of is I pay $25 American per year. The most expensive is 175. It just depends on the lodge itself. Um, it depends on the lodge itself and the how expensive the lodge is to operate. Like for example, if your Masonic lodge is in, I don't know, Manhattan, New York, then it's probably going to be a lot more expensive to be a member there than if your lodge is in like small town USA, for example. Um, so that is going to make a big difference uh, to how much you pay. But it doesn't change based on like your rank or your level. Really, it's degree, because that would obviously cause a lot of problems. Primarily, I think it'd be unfair. Um, I'd say around that, Mr. Peaceful. I've known some lodges are expensive at $600 per year, and other lodges as cheap as 25. But that is a question you should be asking when you're looking at joining a lodge. How much does it cost? Um, what are the annual dues? Are they due per year? Do you have monthly payment plans? Things of that nature, because that is something you need to think about and consider. As a general rule, no, Mr. Peaceful. Um, if you can't afford to pay your dues, usually what you can do is approach the lodge. You don't have to talk to the lodge. You can just talk to one person. Usually it's called the benevolence chair, but it could also be the secretary. He'll keep it private. And you just explain that you can't afford to pay your dues. Normally, the lodge will work out some type of payment plan for you in those circumstances to make sure that you are going to be okay. Or they may pay it out of benevolence. Um, I mean, TJ, I don't think I would have ended up in prison or homeless without it. I mean, I don't know because who knows what the road not taken would have led to, but I don't think I would have. Um, you know, at its core, when you ask me how has Freemasonry benefited me personally, I mean, how does listening to my favorite song, which is Simple Man by Leonard Skinner, how does that like benefit me personally? I enjoy it. It's 2 minutes and 30 seconds of my life or thereabouts where I'm doing something I enjoy. I like the song. I like the music. Uh, I think at its most basic level, I just happen to like Freemasonry. And because I like Freemasonry, that's good enough, right? Certainly, the opportunity to travel, and know that wherever I'm going, there's a lodge where I can visit and I can meet my brothers. And like, I'll give you this story, TJ. A few well, it was last year. I visited some Masonic lodge in Bogota, Colombia. And I had to fly back into Chicago and then take a bus from Chicago back home. So I'm in Bogota. It's nice weather. It's mild, beautiful. I then arrive in Chicago on the coldest day of the year. Literally, it was freezing. Um, I have 10 hours to wait from when I will, catch my bus. I have like $10 to my name. I cannot afford to get any food at the airport because airport food is insanely expensive. However, I happen to know that there is a Masonic Lodge meeting and special event taking place at the time in Glenview, Illinois. I know how to get there from the airport. I'm able to use five of my dollars to get transit fare. I arrive at the Glenview Masonic Temple. They feed me. They give me donuts, coffee, delicious food, delicious refreshments. I hang out with them, and then they give me a ride to the bus. That's not something I could do without Freemasonry, right? Of course, if I was part of a different group or club, maybe I could have the same benefits if I was an elk or a moose. But the Elks, the Moose, it doesn't speak to me in the way that Freemasonry does. And why that is, I mean, who knows? We can always debate back and forth as to why do you love the things that you love. But, and then, yeah, Mr. Peaceful brings up, I do think I became a better public speaker. I do think I learned better how to organize and run meetings and event management because organizing a degree, a banquet, a special event is a type of event planning. So there's all of that stuff as well that goes into it. Um, is that true, THIP? I don't know much about the disciples. I've been watching The Chosen a little bit. They all look older to me. Um, but it could just be they're taking liberties. Um, yeah, you can. Well, no, I mean, it gets kind of complicated, TJ, because technically you can visit any recognized lodge in the world, and that does get complicated in terms of what is recognition, what is regularity. That's a whole other topic of conversation for a whole other day. Um, you know, I think for the purpose of this chat, I'll just say yes, you can visit any lodge around the world. But I will say once you become a Freemason, when you are planning to travel, make sure you check on the recognition and regularity status. Um, John, I'm sure they are very different. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know, unfortunately, a ton about the Elks and the Moose, not as much as I would like, but I'm learning more every day. And I think ultimately what I want to see more than anything else is just a growth in our Masonic lodges, but also in civic institutions in general. I think we are, as civic institutions decline, I think that means society as a whole will also start to struggle and decline in a variety of different ways. Uh, well, that's one of the things you should ask about before you take a leap of faith, right? Strategy. I mean, if you're struggling financially, I would say you can look at that, but I don't think the reason to join anything is to get the almoners funds because keep in mind, um, like I don't think joining to get something is as valuable as joining to give something. There's probably other support services you can rely upon outside of Freemasonry and be a lot easier. Um, you I mean, assuming they're on the level, meaning they just happen to. So they joined, let's say, a group. They're a Mason, but they joined a lodge that is not recognized. We may call it clandestine. I mean, when they show up, you have to speak with them and you confirm which lodge they are a member of from a dues card that's current or from a letter from their secretary. You double check with the list which Grand Lodge is a part of. The list in Ontario is normally at the front of your register. And then you just kind of go from there. And if it just so happens to be the case that they're not recognized, you just tell them, we're very sorry, you're not recognized. I would still invite them for dinner afterwards to grab a meal because the dinner is not a tiled portion of the meeting, at least not here in Ontario. I would still take them on a brief tour of the building. I'd still offer them a water, but I'd just say, we're very sorry, you're not recognized. Which I think is perfectly fine, by the way. Um, Mr. Peaceful, again, there's probably other government programs you can take advantage of. I don't think you should join any group organization first and foremost to get a benefit from it. Having said that, look, if you're looking for support and you're struggling financially or otherwise, I would say though the thing is you know there are dues that start off with being a Freemason. Maybe you should be saving your money and focus that way. I mean, I'm not, you don't want to think about Freemasonry as full-time or part-time because Freemasonry isn't a job, at least not yet, though I hope it would be one day. I'm a full-time content creator. This is what I do full-time. But my content is all about Freemasonry and the ways, or at least 99%, and the ways Freemasonry was and is relevant to the communities in which it's located. Um, it doesn't mean I outrank them. It wouldn't mean that because, I mean, it's a different ranking system. It would be I'm trying to think of an example that would make sense. It would be like being a football player in the NFL and, accidentally walking into the dressing room of a baseball team, right? They're different things. They're both sports, but they're different. They operate under different jurisdictions and rules and recognitions. I mean, I have friends who are not recognized Masons, or not part of recognized Masonic lodges. They're still my friends. I still consider them in my heart my brother. It's just that I can't be in their lodge meeting and they can't be in my lodge meeting. But we can still associate, hang out, and support one another outside of it, so long as they're not doing anything illegal or immoral or wrong, right? I've never been to Albert Pike's tomb. I've not, Rhonda. What's the newest episode about? Out of curiosity. I mean, Mr. Peaceful, I'm trying to think of the right way to many people don't think they need brotherhood until they need brotherhood. And that goes for Masons as well. I've known many Masons who joined Freemasonry, or many people who join Freemasonry decide, you know what, I don't need brotherhood. These meetings are kind of boring, they're dull, they're not that interesting. They then leave Freemasonry. And then a few years later, they call the lodge asking for money and support because they got sick or they're ill or they can't pay their rent. Suddenly, they really need brotherhood. It's easy to not recognize the need for brotherhood and the need for a support system when things are going well in your life. And that doesn't have to come from Freemasonry. I'm sure people have done the same things with the Elks, the Moose, the whatever it is, right? But it just kind of is what it is. We have a responsibility to do our best to remember that brotherhood is something we may need at a variety of times in our life. Um, I don't think that's the phrase. I mean, the phrase "be of service." Where does that come from? Isn't that the Boy Scouts? Where does the phrase "be of service" come from? Is that an actual phrase? Is the question. I don't know if it's a specific phrase. W. Worshipful Reggie Johnson. Did he have any? What would you say were some of the best pieces of advice that he had? Um, Strategy. I mean, as a general rule of thumb, I would disagree with that. I would say that's up to us when we guard the West Gate, right? We have a responsibility to make sure when we are guarding the West Gate that, we make sure the people who are joining for quote unquote the right reasons. It cannot be exclusively about, the perks or the benefits. It has to be something beyond that. Um, Freemasonry is not about trying to control anybody, nor should it be. Cool. I mean, I was just in Illinois, Rondo. I'll check it out and I'll look into it. Strat Master. I mean, yeah, and look, whenever anybody joins Freemasonry, you're always taking a risk, right? Like, it's a leap of faith on both accounts. It's a leap of faith in that we as Freemasons cannot ever know for sure, 100%, like if the person who's joining will be a credit to the craft, will be good. We can do our best to get to know him and learn more about him and try to limit the leap of faith we're taking. But he could be a really good actor and he could be really good at hiding some stuff. By the same token, the person joining Freemasonry, they're taking a leap of faith that they're going to enjoy it because they don't know for sure. They may, again, it's about getting to know the brothers and asking questions and talking to people about it and touring lodges. But everybody kind of is taking a leap of faith. Um, Stinky, I have no idea what you're talking about. I mean, you're not completely wrong, Mr. Peaceful, in the sense that everybody already knows everything at this point about Freemasonry, for better or worse. Um, Once again, if you're new to the stream, please hit like and subscribe. Well, I mean, so if you're a Freemason, you shouldn't be committing crimes, obviously. I mean, when you join, you get lodges and you get bylaws, right? You get the Constitution bylaws, which tells you what your duties are. Certainly, like if there's a dress code, you have to follow the dress code. I mean, it's typical, like whatever is required of a meeting, or whatever is required to make a meeting a success. You can't talk out of turn. You can't be rude to other brothers in a lodge. Things of that nature. Um, Gooey, cut that out. I know many Asian Freemasons are great, as is everybody. Well, John, I mean, when you say under Masonic law, you got to be a little bit careful with that. I've known people who are felons and are Freemasons. Now, you cannot be an active felon and be a Freemason. So if you join Freemasonry and then you are breaking the law, you're going to be kicked out, as you should be, or suspended would be the proper term. If you committed, let's say you committed a crime in your 20s and now you're in your 40s and you've taken amends to create a better life, you've done your time in jail, blah, 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 whatever it might be, gone to counseling, gone to support. It's completely fair at that point for you to approach the lodge, talk to them, explain that you want to join, why you want to join. Also, be honest about your history. Be honest about, your criminal record and the steps you've taken, and then let the lodge decide. But there are people with criminal records who join Freemasonry. There's also people, I'm sure, who were Freemasons, committed felonies, were suspended, and eventually tried to rejoin after paying their debt to society. Whether it's successful or not, I do not know. Um, no, the bylaws are not. The ritual book tends to be in encrypted form, but the bylaws are not. So, TJ, when you say race-based lodges, the most famous one people think of is Prince Hall. Prince Hall is the name of a gentleman who tried to join a lodge in Boston in 1778, I think it was. I could be forgetting the exact year. But he was denied membership because he was black. Um, and so, as a consequence of that, um, he first joined a military lodge in Ireland, along with some black friends of his, black brothers, before eventually he joined, he joined Grand Lodge of England and started his own lodge called African Lodge Number One. Technically, to my understanding, Prince Hall Masonry was never, Prince Hall Masonry was never exclusive for black men. but it was started to give black men an opportunity and a chance to learn more about to be Freemasons and to know they'd be accepted. In 2026, we have uh, Prince Hall Masonic lodges, and we have AF and AM, F and AM lodges, regular Mason lodges. If you want to call it that, we have, plenty of white members in Prince Hall, plenty of black members in regular Freemasonry, quote unquote. And so it was unfortunate in some ways that Prince Hall formed because of discrimination, but I love Prince Hall Masonry. I love the Prince Hall Masons. They are a wonderful part of my family. I can visit their lodges, they can visit mine. And so ultimately, it was out of something not good that something great was created. So, um, Stinky, I have no idea what you're talking about. Gag, what's the point of being a Freemason? I don't know. What's the point of going out with your friends on a Friday night? What's the point of listening to your favorite song? What's the point of doing anything? You enjoy it. I enjoy it. There are benefits you get from it. Um, but at the most basic level, at the most core of all levels, the point of Freemasonry is to spend time with other people. And to spend time with other people, regardless of their race, religion, creed, ethnicity, politics, whatever else it might be. TJ, are there still lodges that do that stuff? I mean, discriminate? You would hope not, but Freemasons are human beings, which means we are, as much as we like to think otherwise, we are not free from the prejudices of our communities, of our times, maybe things we learned from our families. And as a consequence of that, it's really unfortunate, um, but very possible that there are Masons who discriminate, but it shouldn't happen. And if it does, it shows people not understanding what Freemasonry truly is. Um, I have no idea what a Mako miser is, Graham. I've never heard of that before. Well, I mean, I don't think deep rivalries, but certainly every lodge is different. That's why traveling is so important. If you spend your entire Masonic career starting and ending in a single Masonic meeting or in a single like Masonic lodge, you're not getting the full understanding of what Freemasonry is, and what it can be. So you're limited in your understanding of it. So I think in that sense, the fact that every lodge is different is really important. Well, I mean, if you don't like socializing, if you don't like to be socialized, um, uh, you could still get benefits from Freemasonry, but I don't know if you'd enjoy it as much as others because to kind of get a lot of those benefits, you kind of have to socialize. Like if you want the benefit of becoming better at memorization and hard work, um, and meeting administration, like you're not going to be able to do that and not go to lodge meetings, for example. Well, I think if you're the type of person who needs commitment, you're probably not a loser. That's probably a good sign. That probably indicates that you're actually good people. Well, it depends. If you need to be committed to others, if you need people to commit to you, that's questionable. But if you need to be committed to others, that's a really good thing. Um, I don't want to conspire to take over anything or control anything, but I do get a good feeling meeting people outside of, I do get a really good feeling when I see another Mason in the world. It makes me know I have a brother. And as always, if you are just joining, please take a moment to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and any thoughts you have on Freemasonry, let me know. I don't know who Crodon is. Um, Yes. All right. Mr. Peaceful, I don't really take notes after a meeting, after a stream. That wouldn't be a bad idea, honestly. I do try to pay attention to what people are saying. And if there's something important, I will bring it up in lodge. I mean, in my general day-to-day life and experiences, I do try to spend as much time as possible, like paying attention to what are being said on social media by AI, whatever it might be, and then reporting it back to the lodge. I think it's important that we do so. But I would do that even if not on the stream, right? I just pay attention. So, um, yeah, well, you need it, John. If every lodge was exactly the same, Freemasonry would die, right? Because there'd be no innovation, there'd be no changes, there'd be no different perspectives. No organization, no group can survive if everybody exists and does exactly the same thing, right? What we need is we need to be different and we need to have different perspectives. It gives us a chance to try different things, see what works and what doesn't. I mean, all rituals are to a certain extent acting something out. I don't know what you mean by that. Reach Lodge sends. Where is Reach Lodge located, John? You should not watch what you say. You should say whatever you want. I mean, I guess not whatever you want. Don't be a jerk. But whether you're a jerk or not, or whatever you say, it's not going to affect the Freemasons. Um, like, you do what you want. You say what you want. We're not out there trying to track anybody down. Well, certainly it comes from an external understanding. Like, it comes from an external, like brotherly love. It's I don't know even if how to just like it's not the external idea. It's I think we within Freemasonry, not just Freemasonry, human beings understand that we're social creatures. In order to survive, in order for us to survive, we need first and foremost to be able um, to have connection, to have communities, to support one another. Like if we in society are saying like we're not going to have any type of love for our neighbor, our fellow man, whatever it might be, probably not going to go well for our communities. So in that sense, I think it's absolutely fair to say that brotherly love, it's something internal, but it reflects an external truth. That truth being that we need one another. And I think Freemasonry expresses that truth as well. No, the Freemasons cannot come find you. I don't even know what that means. We're not looking for you. We're too busy trying to make ourselves better. Um, right? That we don't have time to be trying to find anybody else, nor should we be. I mean, the ritual is not the same everywhere, obviously, but it's a common purpose, it's a common understanding, it's common symbols, but with different and unique personal interpretations. That's the beautiful thing about it. Like the term supreme being is a universal term within Freemasonry, but every single Mason will have his own understanding of what that is, right? And I think that's truly the most beautiful thing about Freemasonry is so many different personal interpretations of of the same common symbols. Spirit, how's it going? Thank you for being here. By the way, Spirit, John, Mr. Peaceful, Strategy Master, everybody here, please don't forget, as I've been saying, on August 21st, starting 2 p.m., we are going to have our we're going to have our 24-hour content marathon, during which time we are going to be celebrating the Masonic Medical Research Institute. It's going to be a blast. I can't wait. It's going to be exhausting, but it's going to be a blast. So please check it out. No, Masons are not invite only. You need to take the first approach and the first step by approaching the Masonic Lodge and expressing your interest in joining. That's the most important thing. It's up to you to take the first steps. Well, I mean, I think that term force themselves is problematic, right? Like, I don't know what it means to force yourself into a social sitting. If you if you don't want to be part of a social group, then don't be part of a social group. Freemasonry is not the exclusive place to get a lot of these skills and knowledge. I mean, it is the exclusive place to get the quote unquote secrets, if you will, or the most recognition about being a Freemason. It's the exclusive place to be a Freemason. But if you're generally looking for knowledge on how to be a better person or how to, support your community or the benefits of brotherly love, there are a lot of different ways to get it. I would say socialization does provide some unique benefits that you're not going to get at home. But if you're the type of person who just does not enjoy socializing and does not want any part of it, then yeah, you can find other things. That's okay. Redacted, I am a Mason. I've been a Mason for 20 years. I started this channel to promote the ways Freemasonry was and is relevant to the communities in which it's located, as well as to share stories of Freemasonry and to turn my passion for Freemasonry into a profession. So please hit like, please hit subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Currently Worshipful Master of Border Cities Lodge, number 554. TJ, well, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn on your notification bell, and leave me some comments, and I'll do my best to answer them. Nacho, welcome. Thank you for being here as well. Please hit like and subscribe. I'd be much obliged. No worries, TJ. And, follow me on social media, etc., etc. All that stuff, believe me, it helps out big time, and I'd be grateful. Chavez, no. AM Prof, if you want me to stream on, you got to help me out by hitting the like button and the subscribe button and super chatting. Yes, all relevant external links can be found in the stream description. Absolutely. A few others as well. People don't realize it. I'm monetized on Facebook, so I don't really do as much stuff there as I should, but we got to work on that a little bit. For now, we're just going to hang out, wait to see who joins. August 21st, 2 p.m., 24-hour stream. Join me for that as well. I'd really appreciate it. So it's not a Shriners Hospital. We're going to be talking about it a lot on the 21st. We're going to have interviews and people from there. It's going to be a blast. You can look it up online, MMRI. It was started by the Grand Lodge in New York, and it performs medical research on a variety of different topics, including heart disease, autism, lupus. It's a really cool spot. Freemasonry is not a secret society at all. It's just a society, it's just a civic institution. I do not know who that is. Last tour. AM, I try to know what it is as much as I can. Please hit like and subscribe. I would be truly obliged. And we're going to give this another, who knows how long, maybe 5, 10 minutes. We'll see, unless a lot of other people start showing up. But I will be back on at 1 a.m. this morning. I will see you guys then as well. Slowly but surely getting close to 5,000 subs, excuse me. And I also want to start streaming more on my personal channel again. So maybe expect that coming up soon. YouTube.com/Cameron Adamson. YouTube.com/@Cameron Adamson. Well, Mr. Peaceful, a lot of people are feeling lonely nowadays, so you're not completely wrong. But keep in mind, Freemasonry's been around forever. All the evidence, however, shows that, shows and indicates and demonstrates that loneliness is in a lot of ways, a major epidemic right now in society. And because it's a major epidemic, we are experiencing a lot of the health risks that associate with that. I am not in USA. I'm in Canada. Chimere 6177. Please hit like and subscribe. Trying to figure out where Tony is filming, is being shown, because I really want to watch it. Apparently, it's not being shown in Devonshire Mall here in Windsor. That makes me sad. Cool, Spirit. I mean, I wish you best of luck with your baptism. I understand that's probably a pretty special moment for you, or a pretty big deal for you. So, I hope that you have an excellent time with it. And yeah, it's great to see you desiring to grow within your religion. I always say Freemasonry, it does not limit or push anybody away from their religious beliefs. In some cases, as in this case, it can help strengthen. I have no kids. I just have a cat. But the cat is good enough, at least for now. Still not too late. A lot of people have families later in life now, so we shall see what happens. I'm sure you are, as you should be, Spirit. I'm sure it's going to be incredible. Time, did you hit the like and subscribe button? And no, my cat's sleeping somewhere. But there's pictures of Bandit on some of my channels somewhere, if you can find them. She's a black and white cat. I am not on TikTok. I mean, I have a TikTok account. I just never use it. I'm happy with YouTube. I think this is, I mean, it seems to be working best. So, but I do want to try growing across other streams as much as I can. Maybe during my 24-hour content marathon, I'll consider trying to stream across multiple platforms just to try something different and unique, you know? Because I think we in Freemasonry need to be willing to be across multiple platforms. I think that's incredibly important. I think we're not doing it nearly enough. Nice. Enjoy going back to school. Still, what, a couple weeks? Are you on summer vacation? By the way, I don't know if you're under 18 when you say going back to school, but if you're under 18, make sure you have your parents' permission to be on stream. Yes, all from the Masonic Medical Research Institute. Although, just for fun, I may also have my friend Smokey the Clown on it as well, which would be something different and cool and fun. I would just try different things. I may try to be on a couple different channels as I go. Like I said, I want to try different things and be willing to try different things. Um, well, then you must be really excited to be going to school. You're sick, so definitely make sure you have your parents' permission to be on channel because every now and then we get some comments that are not the nicest comments, a lot of adult language. There's probably streams that are a lot better for you. 6177, to be honest, like kids associated streams. This channel's not, made for kids. But nonetheless, I hope you look forward to going to grade one. I'm sure you'll have a great time. Grade one is awesome, and you'll have a great time, I am sure. And you'll crush it, I am sure. So keep up the good work. Good. I'm glad you find it fun. Um, and I hope you have a great time there. But don't forget, this channel is not really for kids, so you got to be at least 21 years of age to join Freemasonry in Ontario, and at least 18 years of age to join Freemasonry in Michigan. So you're much too young at the moment, though there is Rainbow and Demolay, which are for young men and young women, ages, if I recall correctly, like 11 to 21. So you still got a few years for that as well. Nice, Robert. I wonder if in Louisiana, I wonder if the Freemasons paid for that. Wanted to create like a handicap accessible, um, wanted to create like a handicap accessible pier. Kenner, Louisiana pier. Hold on just one sec. The public fishing and boating pier at Lake Town in Kenner, Louisiana, located at the end of Williams Boulevard on Lake, is a standard T-shaped and linear layout rather than, oops, looks like, I can't see anything, but, oh, Kenner's fishing pier. Yeah, it does look a little bit like it. Wonder if it's a coincidence or Masons built it. I'm going to go to images. I mean, a little bit. When it's lit up, it does actually quite a bit. Hmm. I mean, obviously there needs to be the top needs to go down more, the bottom needs to be a bit more curved, but interesting. Thank you for sharing that. We're going to give this another 5-10 minutes. Then we're going to be ending the stream. I will be back on tonight at 1 a.m. as we look towards the 21st and the 24-hour celebration. What's my battery like? 20%. My battery's doing pretty well. Just going to give it a couple more minutes, wait to see if anyone else jumps on and wants to jump in the chat. If not, we'll end this stream. Mark your calendars, August 21st. It's going to be a blast. I can't wait. Celebrating, amongst other things, the Masonic Medical Research Institute. So I look forward to it. I mean, you'll be present for what you can be present for. I was joking around with you, right? When I said like, oh, you need to be there for the whole time. It's fine. We'll have plenty of people coming and going. So be there for when you can, because even me, I'm not going to be doing it full time. Like I'll take a break here and there. Usually I get about like 22 hours of streaming in the 24-hour period. So that's to keep in mind. The engineer is a big Mason. Who was the engineer? It's interesting. I'll have to, maybe if I could find him and ask him about it, or send him to me and ask him to get in touch with me, because I'd love to know if he did it on purpose. Also, like the design, it's convenient, right? It's kind of like when people talk about pyramids, like there's only so many convenient ways to design a pyramid. So I think that's important to keep in mind as well. No, you do. It's fine. You make sure, right, that you do you first. That's what matters most. We'll be fine, though. It's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, I'm just grateful to have a few mods on as we go. Um, and don't forget, save a couple bucks. If anybody watching this wants to donate at that time, half of any money we get during that time will go to the Masonic Medical Research Institute. So I can't wait for that as well. It's going to be really fun. And I always really love them very much. And I got to give a huge shout out and a thank you to my friend Smokey DeClown, who actually helped me yesterday. I've had trouble with the live stream as of late, so he thankfully helped me out. We did a test run of live streaming yesterday. We had a lot of success with it, so that was really good. It means I'll be all set for my time on the 21st, 22nd. And I may get Smokey the Clown to live stream with me a little bit, just for fun, just to try something completely different. Because again, variety is really important when it comes to, live streaming regularly. I appreciate that, Yo Maple, and it's gonna be a really good fundraiser. I'm proud to be a ambassador for the Masonic Medical Research Institute. So I'm just going to give it a couple more minutes, but I think we'll be ending the stream shortly. It looks like the chat is kind of worn out. Thank you to everybody who helped make my trip to Chicago such a success. I am very grateful for that. So thank you so much. And all right, let's end the stream for the time being. We'll be back on at 1 a.m. And mark your calendars, August 21st, August 22nd. I'll talk to you all soon. Spirit, everybody watching this, thank you all for being here. I'll see you all again very soon. And don't forget to follow me on socials for all the stuff I post between my streams. Maybe. All right, looks like it's not ending. I'm going to have to do this the old-fashioned